stop, and landing 13 left if that's available.
Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, Palm Springs Tower, squawk 6250.
6250.
Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, Palm Springs altimeter is 2985, radar contact about 10 miles west of the Palm Springs VOR. Presently landing runway 31, you're requesting straight in for 13.
If that's available, yes, please.
Remember, correction, Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, make straight in runway 13 left and clear to land. Wind is 0905.
Clear to land, runway 3 left, Papa Hotel Tango India Mike, thanks.
Palm Springs clearance, Pilots 4658 is type PC12 slam call, request clearance to Vegas S filed.
Pilots 4658, Palm Springs clearance. Good afternoon, unable to give you S file and I'll be full route standby. Pilots 4658 is cleared to the Las Vegas airport via Flight Cathedral 1 departure procedure to Palm Springs, Victor 370 to 29 Palms, Victor 538, Cresso, join the Cresso 3 arrival. Maintain 7,000, expect flight level 2405 minutes after departure, departure frequency 126.7, squawk 6316.
Pilots 4658 cleared to Vegas via Cathedral 1, Palm Springs, Victor 37029, Palms, Victor 538, Cresso 3, initially climb 7,000, expect cruiser F25, departure 1267, squawk 6316 plus 465.
Plus 4658, reback is correct. Tango India Mike, taxi to the ramp via Echo and English frequency.
Taxiing to the ramp via Echo, remaining on this frequency, Papa Hotel Tango India Mike.
Ontario Tower, Cessna 237 Charlie Alpha, approximately 4 miles to the west, inbound to land.
Number 237 Charlie Alpha, roger, inner left, traffic, left downwind runway 26 left, report base.
Enter left downwind for 26 left and record your base, 237 Charlie Alpha.
Charlie Tower, United 242 on the visual for 20 right, we'll be turning for a right base shortly.
United 242 John Wayne Tower, runway 20 right, clear to land, wind 170.3.
Clear to land, 20 right, United 242.
Panama Tower, Canada 268 Kilo, ILS flight 4.
Near 520 Yankee Kilo, Palomar Tower, runway 24, clear to land, wind 210 at 11.
The land, Kilo.
Number 237 Charlie Alpha, runway 26 left, clear to land.
26 left, clear to land, 7 Charlie Alpha, thank you.
Palm Springs ramp, Pilots 4658 east ramp with weather going for taxi.
Pilots 4658, Palm Springs ground, runway 31 right, taxi via Echo and Bravo.
Trail right via Echo Bravo 465.
Riverside Tower, good morning, November 2903 Alpha with you on the ILS.
Number 2903 Alpha, Riverside Tower, good afternoon. Runway 9 clear low approach, report miss.
November 2903 Alpha, clear low approach, runway 9, next report is good.
Palm Springs Tower, Pilots 4658 ready to go trail right at Bravo.
Skywest 30 on area check.
Pilots 4658, Palm Springs Tower, runway 31 right, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, trail right, Pilots 465.
Panama Tower, Canada 528 Kilo, Kilo, 4.
Here's our Yankee Kilo, roger, taxi into the ramp via Alpha.
Via Alpha to
Pilots 4658, contact SoCal departure.
Contact departure 465.
Cessna 7 Charlie Alpha is clearly active, taxi to the GA parking base.
We're 7 Charlie Alpha, remain on this frequency, taxi into the south ramp via Sierra.
South ramp via Sierra with you, 7 Charlie Alpha, thanks.
Number 2903 Alpha going around.
Number 03 Alpha, confirm going around or going missed.
November 2903 Alpha going missing.
Number 03 Alpha, roger, execute the published missed approach procedure.
Flying the published mid-approach procedure, November 2903.
Piper 2903 Alpha, contact SoCal departure.
Contact departure, 03 Alpha.
Number 03 Alpha, departure frequency will be 135.4.
135.4 for departure, November 2903 Alpha.
Ontario Tower, November 516 Delta Mike, inbound ILS 26 left.
Number 516 Delta Mike, Ontario Tower. Good afternoon, Ontario. Wind is calm. Runway 26 left, clear to land.
26 left, clear to land, 6 Delta Mike. Ontario Tower, November 36. Correction, 516 Delta Mike, clear the active at uniform, taxiing to the south apron.
Number 6 Delta Mike, roger, taxi in the south ramp via Sierra. Remain on this frequency.
Via Sierra on this frequency, 6 Delta Mike.
Riverside Tower, runway 1
Number 2903 Alpha, Riverside Tower, runway 27, clear to land.
clear to land on runway 27, 03 Alpha. Riverside route, November 2903 Alpha, in Alpha request taxi to the transient partner.
Number 2903 Alpha, Riverside ground. In the future, don't switch to the ground frequency unless you're told to do so. You should stay with tower, exiting the runway all the way to the hold short point. Stay on this frequency for now, taxi into the ramp via Alpha.
Taxi to ramp via Alpha, Rocket, November 2903 Alpha.
Generally clear. Generally clearance. November 6th. Charlie Mike type Cherokee. I would like to attempt the I-4 rating today.
Cherokee 76 Charlie Mike, jawline clearance. Good evening. Good luck on the I-4 destination. Will be, let's go, Kilo, Oscar, X-ray, Romeo.
That's Kilo Oscar X-ray Romeo. 6 Charlie Mike.
Yes, sir. Good luck.
I'm going to sign off and collect some information for this destination. I'll sign back in. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Just report when you're back with the I-4. And how long do you think it'll be? It's not going to be more than an hour, is it?
No. I have to file and get some charts and plates.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll still be here, so it shouldn't be a problem. And we'll look for your flight plan to come through. And we should learn some.
Las Vegas Tower Plus 4658 unusual 1 on the right 4500.
Plus 4658 Las Vegas Tower, runway 19 right, clear to land, wind 1807.
Clear to land 19 right 465.
Plus 658 exit right, taxi into the ramp via hotel, remain on this frequency today.
Exit right via hotel, ramp frequency 58 465.
Beach ground, number 953 Whiskey Alpha's Piper Comanche PH4/Alpha. Taxi be active VFR east departure with the weather.
Calling Long Beach ground, need you to just verify your call sign, please.
Sorry about that. 916 Whiskey Alpha, November 916 Whiskey Alpha.
Comanche 9016 Whiskey Alpha, Long Beach ground, roger. And just confirm VFR eastbound.
Eastbound and east ramp just south of runway 25.
Comanche 9016 Whiskey Alpha, roger, runway 26 right, taxi via Kilo.
Okay, 25 right via Kilo, 916 Whiskey Alpha. Long Beach Tower, November 916 Whiskey Alpha, holding short at 25 right at Kilo, ready for departure via Park East.
Number 916 Whiskey Alpha, Long Beach Tower, runway 25 right, clear for takeoff, right downwind departure approved.
Clear for takeoff 25 right, right downwind departure 6 Whiskey Alpha.
Good day, Palm Springs, ground scanning Hotel Tango, East Ramp, India, close traffic, runway 31 right.
Papa Hotel Tango, do you Mike? Palm Springs ground, say again aircraft type.
For a Cessna scan.
Skyline Tango, do you Mike? Thank you, runway 31 right, taxi via Echo and Bravo.
Echo and Bravo, 31 right. Papa Hotel Tango.
We're 791 Juliet, towards ground left clear.
Okay, Sky 791 Juliet, we see there's no clearance delivery with this field, so would we get our departure instructions with tower or with ground?
Always go with the lowest, so we'll start with ground. Just say your intentions.
Okay, Sky 791 Juliet, type Cessna 172 on the south hangars with the numbers requesting VFR advisories to jump.
Number 791 Juliet, roger, departure frequency 134.9er, squawk 2061.
1249, that's 2061, squawk 791 Juliet.
Got 901 Juliet, read back is correct. Are you ready to taxi now?
In a couple of minutes, just gotta go around to the side. Okay, Sky 791 Juliet, south hangars now ready to taxi.
Sky 791 Juliet, roger, runway 29 right. Taxi via hotel, correction, taxi via Alpha in Juliet.
29 right, taxi via Alpha and Juliet, Sky 791 Juliet.
Palm Springs Tower, scanning Papa Hotel Tango. Mike is holding short runway 31 right at Bravo and ready for departure, close traffic. Hey guys, welcome! Season 2! Happy Sunday! Kima, welcome! Paz, the Hummus, what's up? Welcome on the stream. Anyway, it's good to see you. Scandinavian, hi guys. Magic Norm, good to see you. So, this is the first episode of Season 2, starting with my instrument flying training. I've been looking forward to this day for such a long time, perhaps even when I started Season 1. As you all know, I hope, I just completed my Season 1 part of my training, which involved learning how to fly VFR on PilotEdge. Actually quite complex VFR. It includes actually many more training flights that I think a ordinary VFR pilot or PPL pilot would not necessarily experience or go through as part of his training or her training. We did some very interesting Bravo airspace transitions, flight following and stuff. I mean, I've read about I read a lot about flight training, also in the AOPA Flight Training Magazine, stories about, thanks for the follow, hey Lisa, thanks. Happy Sunday. A lot of people who are training to fly, right, to get their PPL. And they are just doing their training, even though they go through all the technical maneuvers that are associated with or involved with VFR flying, just at an untowered airport. And sometimes they haven't even flown to a Delta airport yet, or to a Charlie airport. Which really amazes me, actually. So the fact that we did all of these very more advanced, complex transitions through Bravo airspace and all this stuff that PilotEdge requires us to do to pass for all those VFR CAT ratings, is really, really awesome. And perhaps also explains why I needed about 150 hours to get all to my up to my CAT 11 rating there, which I think was so awesome. Again, I've been archiving all of this stuff, reviewing all of those videos. It is such a blast. But now, today, we are going to start with instrument flying. Now, what's different from Season 1 in this case is that with VFR flying, I did have some prior experience and some prior knowledge about VFR flying. Not much, but I did know what the Cessna looked like and how to fly straight and level and that kind of stuff. I had some experience under my belt, but with instrument flying, I do not. I'm not at all knowledgeable of instrument flying or IFR instrument flying rules, especially with ATC. So this is even more challenging to me than with VFR flying, to be honest. Well, I think the title of this episode is quite true. It's a whole new world to me, and that also is so exciting. So I'm also relying on you guys to help me improve my flying, not just only to improve my landings and my, the usual kind of flying stuff, but also to share your knowledge and insights and also give me some feedback with concern to IFR flying, because I am a complete newbie and it will take me, I guess, at least 100 hours of flight simulator time here to get that IFR flying going, which is really, really cool. But still, that's something that I'd like to say just before the start. Exciting times, yeah. No Pizza, No Glory. Season 2, helicopters? No, not helicopters. Perhaps we can do a stream with helicopter, because I am quite curious to see how to actually steer or bring a helicopter from A to B. Or perhaps that's something like a celebration stream for Season 2. I don't know. Scandinavian, how many episodes do you foresee for Season 2? I heard Game of Thrones are managing the entire season in about 8. Well, I don't know yet. But I am going to show you my scheduled training flights that are designed, that I also did for my VFR flights. So just before I start, I try to study what kind of skills, knowledge, experiences, challenges are involved or are needed to get me to that certificate, to that ultimate rating. So with VFR flying, I studied the VFR CAT ratings, or V ratings at the time at PilotEdge. Also did a lot of YouTube watching videos of flight instructors and student pilots to get a sense of what is involved with learning how to fly VFR. And I did the same with IFR flying. Also made the schedule and shared it with Keith, the CEO of PilotEdge. Also with Ryan, the CFI, the flight instructor at PilotEdge, and also with Finnish G, a new and very good friend, who's also very, very knowledgeable about aviation and IFR, just to get some feedback and an endorsement, almost not really an endorsement, an approval of that training schedule, so I don't skip on any important procedures that are needed to prepare myself for all of those I ratings and call myself a virtual instrument-rated pilot in Flight Simulator. Sniper, hey Tim, really looking forward to the new season. Welcome, Snipe. Good, happy Sunday. Thank you for jumping aboard. Thanks for the follow. Win, thank you. Much appreciated. Mike, Zulu Hotel, I think you'll find IFR in many ways to be easier than VFR. Yeah, Mike. And that's also what Keith was telling me, because during my season 1, I was also saying, well, oh, this is just VFR flying. This is already so challenging. What would IFR look like? IFR flying look like? And he also said, well, it can actually be much more easy. Well, why? Because with IFR flying, the controllers tell you what to do, or the instrument approach procedures, the instrument procedures on the charts just tell you what to fly. I mean, obviously you need to know how to fly the airplane and need to fly radials and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of, I think, more knowledge involved, but perhaps that's also not the case. Opposed to VFR flying, which is actually much more creative flying, where you are much more in control of what direction you fly to, how you should avoid all of those airspaces. It's actually much more challenging. At least that's what they say. To me, to be honest, still at this point, I feel that IFR is still quite daunting to me, but perhaps throughout the season 2, I might find that indeed VFR flying is actually a little bit more challenging than IFR flying, which would be a cool discovery. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Urak, thanks for the follow and happy Sunday. Let's just start with taking off and landing a helicopter. N2B is next level stuff. Yeah, that's true. No pizza, I guess so. Helicopter flying might be an entirely different challenge, especially also with X-Plane because it's much more complex. I'm looking forward to at least 100 episodes in season 2. Yes, Ken. Yeah, no pizza, exactly. Paz Dumas, I've watched pretty much all your episodes, even going back to the A2A days, and finally I get to see you live. Awesome, Paz. Well, welcome on the stream. I mean, you've been looking at a lot of videos then, as I already mentioned, about 150 hours. My gosh. But that's really, really exciting and really awesome. Thank you for being here at the start of a new season. It's so interesting. Okay, guys. So, what are we going to do? Well, first, I'm going to dedicate the first 45 minutes or 30 minutes or so just to brief the season. So to tell you what the idea is, what my expectations are, so you know what to expect. And as I did with the first episode of season 1. And then also do some flying. My first experience flying in IMC. I know that the weather, we're currently at Oceano, which is kind of typical because we also started my season 1 episode flight also on Oceano. That's the starting point where actually a lot of training flights start with PilotEdge. I believe also that PilotEdge recommends people to start with their first VFR flight on the network on Oceano. So this is actually the best airport I could think of to also start my IFR flying. It's home base almost, even though Palm Springs International Airport is my favorite airport. Oceano is, I really associate that with new beginnings. So that's why we start at Oceano. And currently we got really low IMC or IMC weather. So as I start, I think it would be fun to, as a VFR pilot, even though in the real world we would not be allowed to just on our own fly into IMC. Obviously we need an instructor, but that's the advantage of a simulator. Just take off from Oceano and just head towards the clouds, which is a little bit unfamiliar to me because usually as a VFR pilot, we need to avoid all of those clouds, right? To ensure that we are clear of any other traffic. That's the main responsibility of being VFR. There's no controller telling you where the other traffic is. Well, perhaps with flight following, but still. So let's have a first, for me at least, a first experience of how it feels like to go into the soup, to fly into a cloud and see how important then suddenly my instruments become, rather than relying on my outside view to have a sense of whether I'm making a turn or straight in level or so on. So that's kind of like the general idea. So a very simple, casual Sunday introductory IFR flight. And perhaps we can already learn a little bit about reading the primary instruments, about scanning the instruments, but I guess we need a lot more episodes to nail that stuff. So that's kind of like the idea for today. But first, let me see. On my iPad, I've got some notes here that I would like to share first. So, first of all, I've completed my VFR training in season 1. That doesn't mean that that there's nothing to learn for me anymore as a VFR pilot. That's important to note. Even though I've completed all of those CAT ratings, VFR flying is always very, very challenging. But there are so many nuances and details and other procedures and stuff, techniques that I can perfect. So I'm not saying anything like, oh, I'm now a perfect VFR pilot. No, not at all. I guess also in season 2, we're also going to do VFR flights, also as part of the IFR training, actually. But I'm also going to enjoy VFR flying during season 2. So it's important to note, I think. And I also think that through my season 2 series and the episodes here, because I'm now training how to fly on instruments and get a better feel and be more precise with my altitude management and my speed management, that also benefits my VFR flying, obviously. It's not just an addition to my training. Thank you for the follow, Teller. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the stream. So it's not just that IFR is a different, separate, isolated module or thing of flying next to VFR flying. No, the both interact. So I think that my IFR flying would also help me to improve my VFR flying in ways in terms of precision and also using my instruments as backup and so on. Let me see. Yeah, also in terms of weather, that's also important. So also, obviously, as part of instrument flying, I need to be also much more aware and knowledgeable of what the weather is doing and how different weather conditions affect my flying in my Cessna 172 in terms of icing and other stuff that can happen, also can disrupt my my aircraft systems and cause all kinds of failures. Also having a better idea of what the weather is doing would also benefit my VFR flying, obviously. Now, as part of my season 2 training schedule, as I mentioned, I studied a lot of content, real-world flight training content involved with instrument flying. First off is the King School's instrument rating training program, a video course, very, very complete and an awesome course with John and Martha telling pretty much everything about IFR flying. So I'm actually still busy completing that course, but I'm already halfway. And watched other episodes in the course as input for my training schedule. In addition to that course, I'm also busy studying the real-world IFR training course by PilotEdge that Keith recommended me to watch also in earlier streams, which is a great, I think it complements the King School's course in many ways. It provides a much more realistic, authentic view and experience, and also a lot of knowledge and techniques on how messy and challenging IFR flying can be. I mean, if you look at the King School stuff, they really provide you with a very structured kind of course and telling you, well, if you do an IFR flight, you first start with clearance, and But obviously, in the real world, there can be changes to your flight plan, stuff that can mess you up, all kinds of different elements that are not really included in the King School course that is included in the real world IFR training course of PilotEdge made by Keith and others. So I used that course as well. I need to study that one more thoroughly, and I will do that as I progress through the course. But that's also a really, really valuable resource that I think will also enrich my training here in flight simulation. And lastly, the PilotEdge IFR videos on YouTube, the free ones. Also a lot of information there. So those are the 3 main resources, and obviously all the feedback that I receive of you guys and also on Discord as input to further optimize my training schedule. But those are the 3 main resources. So real world, this is not something like, oh, let's just pick a few procedures and a few topics and that's it. But it's really proper real-world training, and I'd like to transfer all of that knowledge or demonstrate also those skills and techniques here in Flight Sim. And I think that's really, really awesome. Hey, Finish G, good to see you also on the stream. Happy Sunday. Okay, so those are the 3 resources. Let me see. Yeah, so the general idea, and this is again quite general, but for me it's important to really start from scratch here. So the IFR instrument rating training or IFR training is kind of, well, can be generically described as putting together all kinds of different stages of flight based on plates. So for example, you have particular procedures and plates, charts that tell you something about how you depart an aircraft in IMC, or when you're flying IFR. You can also fly IFR in VMC, by the way, but as an IFR pilot, you are relying on those instrument approaches. Thank you, Captain, for the follow. That's much appreciated. So each stage of your flight is actually charted or controlled, governed by the controllers. So you've got different charts that tell you something about departures. There are many different departures that we're going to try out here in Flight Simulator, actual departures. And from that departure, you also got en route. Well, not really procedures, but routes. Different charts that we're going to look at, so we can continue our departure towards our destination airports. Then you've got particular arrival procedures that tell you something about how you arrive at your airport. And then finally also some instrument approach, the final leg almost, in terms of, let's just use some VFR phraseology here. So the final kind of instrument approach also has different charts. So you've got different stages. The entire flight is chunked up in different stages, which all rely on their own charts and also their own procedures. And so you're actually design or file a IFR flight plan that involves all of those different stages, a particular departure and route, arrival, and instrument approach. And that's also how I'm going to generally structure my IFR training, to study each of those stages, practice with those, and not just on their own, but also in different conditions. So once in marginal VMC, once in IMC. Also, I like to do departures and arrivals with winds calm and crosswind conditions, which is also interesting. So radial flying, NDB radial flying. Also going to do some old school, for example, the NDB approaches and stuff are actually phased out, actually in the real world, out of all the procedural stuff that's going on in the IFR world. But I think it's really cool to include it as well here on my channel. Also, just to show you how that works, but also because it's just thrilling to see, and also quite challenging to fly an NDB approach. So I also included some more outdated, old school kind of approaches and procedures just to have fun with. That's what we're going to do as well. And so for each stage, a winds calm and also crosswind conditions, also with holding patterns. I mean, just flying a plain holding pattern is already difficult, but imagine doing that with a crosswind. So when you pick particular headings, you need to also think about your correction for winds. Gosh, if I just thinking about that already gives me, well, makes me sweating, makes me gonna sweat already. Like, my gosh, this is gonna be so much more challenging. But perhaps it's not, but we'll have to see. Anyway, so that's kind of like the general idea. So, and then at the end of the season, I'm going to do more complete IFR flights. So not the isolated departure, isolated en route chunk of my flight, but we're then going to file entire IFR flight plans and make our first complete IFR flight, which is going to be really, really cool. I think, but still I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's the case also, as is to Ryan, the CFI on PilotEdge, whether we as VFR pilots could just make a VFR flight on PilotEdge and just request an IFR approach or request an IFR departure just for practice, only for practice, only that chunk of my flight. Thanks for the follow, Tony. Welcome aboard. Happy Sunday. So I'm not only going to fly the procedures, just flying the charts, but also like to include the ATC bit right from the start, to also practice that. So it's going to be quite dynamic, but first in isolation, and then we do it in a more complete kind of manner. That's the idea. All right, next up, I'm gonna still fly, as you notice, with the Cessna 172. So no multi-engine, no jets. Still, as an IFR pilot or student pilot, you can still fly the Cessna 172. Also, the I ratings on PilotEdge can be flown with a Cessna 172. The only drawback would be that there are particular I rating flights that actually are quite long distance cross-country flights, and with the Cessna 172, it takes some time to get there. Well, I don't really care. Also, an advantage is, because we're not going that fast, changing frequencies and stuff might be a little bit more easy. And that also brings me to the next point. I'm going to fly as little as possible, making use of the autopilot or the GPS. So I'm actually trying to do this by hand, which is a lot more challenging. I mean, just putting in GPS route, your entire route in GPS. I'm also going to practice that, by the way. It's a good skill to know how to use the GPS and that stuff, and to change the plan on the go and that stuff. So that's what we're going to do as well. But at its core, I'm going to try to fly and complete my entire IFR training just on hand, by hand, like I did with my VFR flying, right? So no autopilot. Well, I'm saying that right now, but perhaps if it becomes too difficult, or perhaps for some procedures, it might be too challenging for me. But I don't think so. It just needs practice. And I think it's also much more fun. Again, it's also the spirit of the season 1 episodes to do this by hand. It's much more an active way of flying, and well, again, I think it's really aligns itself with the spirit of the uncertified pilot, flying by hand, as little or even not at all making use of the autopilot or the GPS. Let's see how that goes. Okay. Next up, we're going to start here at Oceano. We're going to make all kinds of flights on different airports. I think I'm not going to fly from airport to airport like I did at the start of my season 1. So I will just start every stream, I guess, on a different airport. I don't know. It depends on what kind of procedures we are looking for to train in terms of IFR. But first, we're going to start here in Oceano. A lot of practice in Echo airspace. Also a lot of in IMC. I was really considering whether I should do that on the network, live on PilotEdge, because obviously when we are in the soup, I don't have a safety pilot near me in the right seat that is looking outside, making sure that we are not flying into other aircraft while I'm fixating on my instrument and doing my practice, right? I'm just alone here in my cockpit. I guide you guys, but I guess I'm going to fix my track IR to my instrument so I cannot look outside, or we'll just fly into the soup and we can practice in that way. So I don't know what the benefit is, and perhaps even also because I'm then flying in the soup in the clouds, because I preset my own weather, I might be a nuisance to other people flying VFR in clear skies in real weather terms in PilotEdge. So perhaps I'm also going to fly not on the PilotEdge, not being connected to the PilotEdge network for some flights. But now, as a start here, I'm just going to do that. I guess it wouldn't be that much. I think I wouldn't be a nuisance that much to other pilots here on the network, in airspace at least. Also, in terms of weather, I'm going to preset my weather most of the time. So obviously, I need to practice with zero visibility, or pretty much zero visibility, also with the winds, calm, and crosswind kind of conditions. And I'm not going to wait for those conditions to arise naturally based on real-world weather conditions, as I did with VFR flying, which I always flew with real-world conditions. So I'm going to preset my weather. Many more episodes here in season 2 because of that purpose of that training. Also, not only for zero visibility, but I also like to practice and get familiar with icing conditions, turbulence, crosswinds, thunderstorms, how to avoid those, how to circumvent those thunderstorms, how they would look like here in the flight sim. So it's not only just presetting zero visibility conditions, but it's also really about learning also more about what different weather conditions feel like also in the flight sim, and how to incorporate those as part of your training. So until we reach those complete IFR flight stages of training, then I'm going to use real-world flight conditions. But here for my training flights, I'm going to preset that weather to get the most value out of my training, which I think makes sense. Almost there. One thing is, it's also good to note that there's one important difference between IFR flight training and real-world flight training. Even though we've got ATC, we've got all the procedures. X-plane is quite realistic. We've got realistic weather. That's also awesome. Thank you for the follow, and thanks. But one thing is, if you are in the soup and flying with no visibility, there's a really common phenomenon, a psychological phenomenon, where your body senses can actually give you different signals of what's going on with the airplane, making turns or climbing or descending, opposed to what you're seeing on your instruments. And there can be a lot of disorientation and confusion going on in the cockpit because of that disalignment. And that's something that I cannot simulate here in my home cockpit, because I'm only just sitting here in my room and I'm only looking at my instruments. And that's a dimension of my training that I cannot simulate, I guess. Pretty much short that I can't. And that's a little bit of a bummer because that actually makes instrument flying a lot more challenging. So at my first stage here of my training, I'm just going to practice how to fly on my instruments, do constant rate turns and climbs and descents. I will show you the stages in just a few seconds. But without that disorientation, those bodily senses of movement, the kinetic senses, it becomes quite more easy to do that. One thing that I am going to do, opposed to training flights that also happen in the real world, I'm not going to cover up. I don't think it's even possible in X-Plane. Cover up my instruments also with partial instrument flying, which is also a topic on its own that we're also going to cover in this first stage of training. Flying on instruments while the attitude indicator is not working or the heading indicator is not working. I need to fly on my magnetic compass where we've got a vacuum failure, an electrical failure. I mean, that's so interesting. I cannot wait to do that. So that's flying with partial instruments. And usually with training flights, what they do is they just cover up one instrument and the instructor says, well, let's pretend that your heading indicator is not working right now, and they cover it up. That's actually quite different, flying in such a partial instrument condition, than not knowing. That's first, not knowing that an instrument has failed. So identifying, recognizing that you've got a system failure going on. That's the first that we're also going to practice here in part of the season, which is going to set failures. I'm also going to ask Mireille, Mrs. Uncertified, to sit next to me here with her iPad connected to my X-Plane and set up failures without me knowing. And let's see if I can spot those, right? And we're also going to set random failures here in X-Plane because failure identification and also still recover from a failure, instrument failure, system failure, and still continuing and completing your IFR flight is going to be so valuable and so educational. So that's also included in the training. Anyways, so partial, failures, but I'm not going to, because it's not possible in X-Plane, cover up those instruments if they failed. I'm just going to keep them there. And that's actually quite different. I also read a couple of articles in the AOPA Flight Training magazine saying that there's a difference in training in realism to prepare students for a partial instrument flying. Whether you cover up the broken instrument or whether you just show it that it's broken. Because even your scan, you're so familiar of scanning all the 6 primary instruments, and if one instrument is broken and it's not covered up, you still feel the reflex or the impulse just to read the heading indicator, and it actually becomes quite more confusing if you can still read it while you know that it's actually broken. So that's also what we're going to do in our flights throughout the season, when we're going to practice with failures. Instrument failures, just to not cover them up. I don't think it's even possible in X-Plane, but still, that's also a really important point, I think, of practicing how to fly on instruments. That you still see, for example, if the pitot tube becomes stuck, that the airspeed might still read a constant 100 knots because we were in cruise. So when we actually slow down, it will still read 100 knots. That's confusing. Rather than just covering it up with some rubber black thing, and you can just skip it entirely, and then it will not confuse you anymore. It is so much more realistic to just see it fail and then still being able to manage the airplane in a safe manner. Yeah, so that's the main idea. One last thing, and that is just showing off the training schedule that I made. So, as many of you know, let's also hop here into the normal view. iPad. As you all know, UncertifiedPilot.com, right? That's where I describe my training, a lot of background information about me, and also all the videos, not really all of them, but all of my best training flights, also in terms of my season 1, my VFR training, you can find over there. And now a few days ago, I also designed and published my own instrument training, my season 2 training flights that I scheduled to train. And there are 6 stages, as you can see, including the I-rating stage as the last one. So we're moving from the left all the way to the right. Eventually those I-ratings are my check rights. If I complete the last CAT rating over there, I can call myself a instrument-rated pilot in flight sim, pretty much. Thanks for the follow, Kia. Thanks. So that's the idea. So we're now at stage 1, instrument flying. That's what we're going to start with. Now, as you can see, each stage has its own sections, you could say, its own topics. First, we're going to start with constant rate turns, climbs, and descents. Just flying on instruments. And we're going to do that each time in a marginal VMC condition and IMC condition. So 2 flights for each section. and that's the same structure that you will see in the next stages as well. It's not always going to be marginal VMC versus IMC. For example, also winds calm and crosswinds, because I have some reasons to do that, to mix that up. But still here, constant rate range, that's what we're going to do today. Just have a first impression of what it's like to fly on instruments in the clouds. Excuse me. Then, the next one is doing the same thing, but then with partial instruments. So without an attitude indicator, or an attitude indicator that is not working. Flying a heading on the magnetic compass is actually also quite challenging. That's what we're going to do as well. Then next up is recovery from unusual attitudes and stalls, also with partial instruments. Interesting, right? And I guess I will also ask Mireille, Mrs. Uncertified, to help me with that, so she can sit next to me, put my airplane while we have no visibility into a weird, unusual attitude, and I cannot look, and then I need to look again and try to recover that, only relying on my instruments. It's going to be fun. Do you think? So that's what we're going to do as well, like in the real world as part of that training. And lastly, instrument failure identification. So, and that's again so important. So flying without me knowing when or what instrument has failed, and to be able to recognize that and see what's going on and then react accordingly. Very, very cool. And this is usually this is the basic first step with training how to become an IFR pilot in the real world, but also here in flight sim. Instrument flying first. Then stage 2. Bum, 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 bum. There we are. Departure and arrival procedures in IMC. So here we're going to fly in IMC in each and every training flight. This time we're going to do the departure stuff. And also some arrivals here at the end, the stars. So this becomes more procedural, and we're obviously relying on that instrument flying skill that we just developed in stage 1. First, some basic GPS and autopilot flying. So we got a basic idea of how we need to work with the GPS and autopilot. Later, in some later stages, I believe in stage 5, we're going to do more advanced GPS and autopilot flying. But it's good already at this point to know how to rely on basic autopilot features and GPS features in case I might need it. Also, again, there's nothing wrong with a GPS or an autopilot. It is a great aid, but I also like to be as proficient enough in terms of instrument flying that I can also fly by hand. I also think it's much more fun, but I think it's also a very important skill to have. There are actually a lot of accidents where pilots become so over-reliable, are so much over-relying on the GPS and autopilot flying that if that stuff fails, and it can during flight, they are totally screwed because they are not that knowledgeable anymore about how to fly a VOR radial or just a basic ILS approach using the basic VOR instrument, Nav1 instrument. So it's really important to have that redundancy in your skill set as well. Then VFR and NDB radial flying. Now, obviously, I'm already quite familiar with VOR radial flying, but NDB radial flying, not. I know how an NDB works, but flying a radial on NDB is actually quite different. Also going to need that with the holding pattern procedures. So that's interesting. Also flying a back course of a VOR, how to do that. Stuff that we're all going to cover. And as you can see here, for each flight, a winds calm versus a crosswind condition. That's important because that crosswind also makes stuff a lot more challenging because you need to correct for winds, right? You need to fly a proper ground track. It's not about headings because you can be drifted off your track. You need to incorporate it into your procedures as well. And I guess with the GPS flight, the GPS will correct for that for you automatically. But when we're going to fly by hand, I need to do that, right? So that's what we're going to do as well. Thank you for the follow, dog. Thank you. Welcome to the stream. Episode 1, Season 2. So cool. Okay, then DME arcs, also part of some procedural instrument procedures that we're going to cover. Obstacle departure procedures, also usual departures near non-towered airports, so a departure where you are sure that you will not hit a mountain or any kind of obstacle, which is also a general kind of feature, I guess, of any kind of departure procedure, but still, an obstacle departure procedure. Then the standard departure procedures, and there are many different versions of these, and I'd like to cover most of them. The standard terminal arrival routes, those are arrival kind of procedures, and again also we're going to go through all the different variations there. Still, there's going to be just one video for each condition here on this page, but So it's not going to be, you cannot just count up all the different video containers here to know how many episodes Season 2 will cover, because there will be most obviously many more. These video containers will only showcase my best training flights for that particular section, as I also did with my VFR flight training. Stage 3. Then holding patterns. Ooh, and those can be actually also quite complex. A holding pattern with GPS, a holding pattern with VOR, a holding pattern at an intersection, and a holding pattern with NDB. Again, very challenging and also very relevant as part also of the missed approach procedure. And again, also in windscalm condition versus crosswind condition. So that's what we're going to do in stage 3. Stage 4. Charted visual approach procedures. So again, these are the approaches. So the final stage of your flight, as you could say. First the basic ones, and eventually they become a little bit more complex. I believe in terms of skill. So charted visual approach procedure, the classic ILS approach. Thanks for the follow, Leon. Thanks. Welcome on the stream and happy Sunday, guys. RNAV approaches without a glide slope, VOR approaches, localizer approaches, or different types of those. The back course localizer approach, NDB approaches. Well, again, that's an outdated one. They're being phased off out of the approaches eventually, but still, it's fun to fly them. And also just to show you how that works. So I include those as well. Circling approaches, sidestep approaches, where you fly an approach for a particular runway and then step over to a parallel runway, for example with LAX. Interesting. I mean, not a lot of stuff going on there, I guess, but it's fun to also cover those. And again, as you can see here, different conditions. So not marginal VMC versus IMC or windscalm versus crosswind, but in this case, landing made or a missed approach. So for each of these procedures, I also like to do the missed approach procedure for that particular approach, because those also are reliant on those different types of approaches. Thank you for the follows, guys. Thank you, Boogie. Welcome aboard. You're so kind. And Team Gary, that's the first one, and then Bogey. Thank you, guys. Awesome. Much appreciated. So again, as you can see how complex IFR flying can be, at least in terms of these procedures, different kind of procedures. And I guess there's a general underlying skill set here that applies to most approaches, but it's just also fun to showcase the differences in approaches and also become familiar with those. But there are many more video containers in this season too than is the case for my VFR training season, which you can also find here on UncertifiedPilot.com. Approaches, and then stage 5 are the complete IFR flights, if I'm correct. Complete IFR flights. So here, advanced GPS and autopilot flying. So for example, if a controller might say, well, skip that particular waypoint, I need to know how I can handle the GPS to change my flight plan on the go, and all kinds of other stuff that's going on there. Again, it's important to know how to fly the GPS. Christian, thanks for the follow. So then we're going to start IFR flight from a towered airport to another using tech routes. Then conventional IFR flight from a towered airport to the other. IFR flight from an untowered airport to another, also interesting. Not that different from an usual towered flight, but it's interesting just to know the difference. And again, I need as much practice as I can. An IFR flight with VFR on top, also not a biggie, but interesting to cover. So while we're flying and the weather might be so good above the clouds that we can just go VFR for a while and then pick up or then continue our IFR flight back into the soup and land. IFR flight with block altitudes, in case we got some cloud tops or turbulence, we might ask or request a block altitude. Again, this is just a tiny kind of variation to an IFR flight. Perhaps it doesn't even deserve an entire row here in my stream, but it's interesting just to showcase and just practice with that as well. Well, practice, it doesn't really require much practice, but it's interesting to cover. Picking up and closing IFR en route. That's also part of the I ratings, which is also interesting, also quite useful when I'm flying VFR, like we experienced many times before as part of my Season 1 series, when I expected, based on the forecast, that my arrival destination airport had, well, visual VMC, visual meteorological conditions, and suddenly that was not the case, and I could not make my destination airport. Well, if I'm a IFR pilot, I can just pick up my IFR en route, I think, and get to that destination airport anyway, because we can just do an approach or whatever and land. So that's what we're going to practice too. Lost communication procedures, also very important. Also, as I mentioned here, in case Keith will jump aboard. I'm also going to ask him for some Q&As here, some episodes ahead, if we've got some questions to ask him here on the stream live. And we can ask him all we like to know about IFR flying that is outside of the content of the PilotEdge IFR videos and all of that stuff. But I guess that Keith will jump on board and mess me up as well as my trusty mess upper. So this one we're going to practice too. Thank you, Mr. Knight, for the follow. Happy Sunday. Welcome on board. And GPS failure. Again, so important. That's also why primarily I just like to fly by hand. That's just the fun of flying. There's no flying involved if just the autopilot is flying. I like to fly. But still, also in the real world, it is good to know how to manage the airplane if you got GPS failure. That doesn't mean that the GPS doesn't work just before we do our flight, but while we are flying and we are relying on our GPS, then if the GPS fails, am I swift enough to then change up my plans and input all the VORs and frequencies and still continue my instrument approach or arrival or en route stuff based on just hand flying? Also very, very important. And again, this is not playing around with making up as many variations as possible. Many real world accidents happen based on GPS failure because pilots are over relying on the GPS. If you even search on Twitch, and for the follows guys, thanks. Even if you look on Twitch and just see how other streamers enjoy GPS flying and program their entire flight in the FMC and just make their way from their departure airport to their destination, the autopilot is flying. Well, I think if you just shut down that GPS while they are flying, they are screwed, and I guess they will decide just to stop their stream and fly all over again. Which is not possible, obviously, in the real world. So I even think that in our flight simulation community, if you look at the streamers, many sim pilots are over-relying on the GPS, which is not, obviously, we're just enjoying ourselves. It's totally fine. But from an educational point of view, and also perhaps not educational, also an entertainment point of view, it's so cool not to use the GPS and just fly and switch with frequencies. I guess also shared cockpit flying might be fun as well as part of the season 2, with cockpit resource management, with Avanek, for example, with others, with Keith in the cockpit, where we can divide tasks and see how that goes when you're flying, especially during failures. Thanks for the follows, guys. Much appreciated. Come on. Unfortunately, NDBs are still all over the UK. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And they can be fun. Exactly, Finish. Exactly. Just saw the remark of Scandinavian a while ago. You can have Mrs. Uncertified tilt your chair every now and then to get that bodily sensation of yeah, perhaps Scandinavian, perhaps. But it was an important point. So that completes then all my training flights, and then I move on to the I ratings, and I think I'm overly prepared for my I ratings with those training flights, but still. And as you can see, all the I ratings. I rating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is actually retired currently. I don't know why, but it is not active. You cannot fly that one. Don't know why. And then I rating 10 and 11. And once I complete rating 11, I rating 11, then I will do another huge celebration, because then I completed the goal that I set at episode 1 to become an instrument rated pilot as best I can, or come as close to a real world instrument rating in Flight Simulator as I possibly can. And that doesn't mean that I will then stop the Uncertified Pilot project. I can tell you there's going to be a season 3. I'm not going to tell you what's that all about, but we're going to continue. I love to learn how to fly. It's the learning process of flying in Flight Sim that is so attractive, I think, rather than just doing the flights. It's just learning new stuff. Also with you guys here on the stream. Lucky Black, if my GPS dies, I have a backup GPS. Yeah, good one. And also, that's also what real world pilots do. They have their iPad and also their GPS. I mean, that's obviously that redundancy is very, very important, but that's not my point. It's about also the fun of non-GPS flying. And even that, there is a scenario where even your backup GPS can fail. And it's just fun. It's just fun. Thank you for the follow, Mark. Thank you. Okay, guys, that completes, well, it's a 30-minute brief of my Season 2. Again, visit UncertifiedPilot.com and you can see how I progress through all of those stages and see all the videos that I put in those video containers. And you can see how I'm making progress. Okay, that's for flight. So, Oceano, that's where we are right now. Hey Jacob, good to see you. 52 people, my gosh, that's a big change from last time. Well, last time we also got some views when Mrs. Uncertified did her own solo. That was a wonderful stream. So many heartwarming comments by you guys, also on Twitch, but also on YouTube. Many people saying, "Wow, this is such a good vibe." We were chatting after the stream, like saying, "Well, this is how we make fun." It's to me, to us, it's almost usual to have that much fun and share our passion with flying and aviation, and it really struck a chord to see how many of you guys responded so positively afterwards, saying this is what the community is about, this is what the fun of flying is all about, which is that acknowledgement really means a lot. But I'm happy to see so many people here in our cozy little four-seater Cessna. It must be crowded, as always, behind my seat. So, we are currently at Oceano, Lima 52. We've got low IMC, as you can see here, looking at San Luis, METAR. What do we got? 140 at 7 knots, 7 statute miles, overcast at 400 feet. Ha! Usually, I was scared away from this weather, but now I need to look for it to have some training. And again, we are now flying in real-world weather, which is fine, I guess, for our first introductory instrument flying flight. So I'm just going to take off. I'm still on PilotEdge. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not. Perhaps you guys can advise me if that's smart. PC, thanks for the follow. But we're just going to fly here in Echo airspace and do some instrument flying here while remaining outside of those deltas. PilotEdge is not live currently, so all the deltas, all the airspaces are CTEF, are Echo. So we can do whatever, as long as we don't hit any terrains. I can also glance at my GPS at this point. That's not that important. It's just about practicing constant rate turns and being also much more precise with my turns and with my altitude. So usually I have many flights, even one of my last VFR flights, where I'm not sticking on my cruising altitude and I'm 300 feet above or 300 feet below or even more. And I will try to perfect that. Well, not being off of my cruising altitude, but being more spot on with my cruising altitude and consistent with my speeds and altitudes and headings, because that's really important, particularly for instrument flying. So what we're going to do, we're going to depart oceanside. Winds were coming from 140, it was 140. We got runway 29 and 11, so we're going to pick runway 11. That's good. That's just next to us here, and we're going to take off and climb, look for a cloud, and let's just see what my first impression is, my first experiences of flying in a cloud. Well, in my season 1, I did encounter some really low visibility flights where I was already flying a bit on instruments, so it's not completely my first experience, but still, it's more a deliberate kind of approach here, which is nice. Scandinavian, time to bring up the IFR charts instead of the sectionals. Well, for this particular flight, not, because I'm not going to go any routes, but that's going to happen. Also, I'm completely oblivious of those charts and how to read those. So that's going to be fun as well. Okay, away. We are currently at wonderful Oceano. That's where it all started. I'm actually at the same parking spot, even though I started with prepared at the time. I actually parked my Cessna here on the same tie-down spot. We are currently at Oceano, near the sea, as you can see. We got nice weather here that we can fly into. Over there, I think is over there. There's San Luis, and a very cute Oceano airport. We got some AI here coming in, I think. It's such a nice airport here, where it all starts. And I also like to see others on the PilotEdge network to fly from or to, but especially from Oceano. And even particularly when I hear someone on the CTEF of Oceano doing patterns, I know that he or she is actually doing the first practice of the non-towered traffic pattern flying, which is also very nice. Okay, I guess that prop is not there for that guy, or at least not for the AI. But here's Oceania, runway 11, so that's what we're going to do. Runway 11, we're going to take off, and we're just going to climb into the soup and see how that instrument flying goes. Nothing else that we're going to practice or serious or strict or technical. That's just the first thing that we're going to do and just have some fun. Steve, what made you leave P3D? Oh, that's a big story. Well, first, I really like the photoreal scenery, which I can load into. Explain 11. I mean, I had Orbix, Vector, OpenLC, everything, and still photoreal. Nothing can compete with photoreal. And as a VFR pilot, that's really, really helpful. Having photoreal scenery. It also looks so pretty. It looks so cool. That's first. Second, airports are mostly free and Explain, and the ones that are payware, including this Oceano airport, I think comes pretty close to Orbex quality. I'm not saying that Orbex, I think Orbex is still a little bit better also with people flow, but still, it's very, very comparable. That's what I like. I really like the stock 172 and Explain. I love how well and smooth Explain runs. Also integrated with the plugins, and PilotEdge is a much more stable platform in my opinion. And obviously, I switched back in the time when I was flying prepared version 3, and now we've got prepared version 4, which I'm not familiar with, and I'm so glad to see that those guys obviously are also further developing prepared. It's wonderful to see that, but still to me Explain feels much more robust. I like the flight recorder. There are a lot of other stuff that there's a lot of other stuff that I really love about Explain. What is that? I think that's also AI, or perhaps it's someone else who's flying over here, and that's always a bit of a bummer flying on PilotEdge, because that AI is not obviously tuned into the weather, and usually the wind is coming from the ocean going land inwards, and so it makes sense to depart and also arrive on runway 29. In our case, we've got winds calm, so perhaps we could rather pick runway 29, so we are aligning ourselves with the traffic flow. We've got winds calm anyway, so it doesn't really. Okay, into the cockpit. Let's go flying, guys. Epsi, thanks for the follow. Happy Sunday. Alrighty. Seatbelts. There we go again, guys. First flight. Episode 1, Season 2. Haha. So glad you're all here. So many of you. Awesome. So, in the cockpit, as usual. So, let's close the door. Parking brakes are set. Life vest, fire extinguisher preventer is all there. Door is closed. ELT set to auto. Flaps are up. That stuff is not interactive. The lever is up, but the flaps are also actually up. My throttle works. Mixture works. My trim set to take off. Fuel tank set to both. Fuel cut is in. Alternate is in. That stuff we're going to check soon. Circuit breaker is nicely tucked in here as well. Switch panel is working, and my beacon light was on. And avionics is off. Good. Batteries. No, not batteries. First, I'd like to test my controls. To the right, that one goes down. To the left, that one goes down. Up, down, trim. Working as well. And my rudders work too. Also, as part of Explain here, which I really liked about A2A, also by the Airflow Labs Cessna, by the way, is that because we're flying IFR, the external workaround also becomes a little bit more important. Well, it's always important, I guess, but perhaps there will be more additional items to that external workaround, because we need to make very, very sure, also as part of the other checks, by the way, that our instruments are working and that all this stuff outside the static airport and the pitot tube, that is also, and the antennas and all this stuff are actually really secure and working, because we're so much more relying on that stuff than when we are VFR. If the pitot tube breaks or gets stuck, we can still fly on visuals and to have a sense of how fast we are going, right? So it's not that much of a problem, but in IMC, that is a problem. So also checking the vacuum, for example, is important also during the run-up. And other stuff, which I'm not that familiar with yet, but it's important to be more aware and mindful with those checks as well. There are additional items, but also be much more concentrated on whether that stuff is actually working. Okay, so we did our flight control test. Yeah, so batteries on, we got enough fuel, as you can see. That's good. Avionics, turn those off. Displays are nicely on. Flaps, let's see if those are working. And again, as part of our external workaround, which is not possible with the stock 172, we would also now check the lights, go outside and do a round around the airplane and check for all the screws and connecting rods and all of that stuff, but which we're not going to do. So that's why I'm just checking the flaps to see if those are working, and they are. This stuff we're going to set soon. Annunciator messages seem good to me, and everything is set. Good. Avionics off. Fuel pump on. Mixture in. 1, 2, 3. That's a good prime. Fuel pump off. Throttle bit in. Is there anyone around? No. And our program rigs are still set. Yep. Clear prop. And mixture or magnetos back to both. Throttle 1200. Oil pressure is already in the green within 30 seconds. That's good. Let's lean for ground a bit. I would see a dip in the RPM there and set max RPM, but again, that's not simulated here in the Cessna 172 stock. Reset to 1000. Generator on. We see a rise in the ammeter. Avionics on. Good. Let's put this into mode C. 1200. That's good. No navs and comms. What do we need? Well, we need CTAF. Wonderful CTAF. 122.7. Switch. Good. That's on ATIS. Might be interesting as well. 120.6 of San Luis. Nearby.
San Luis CORGNL information Victor.
Victor.
2200 Zulu weather. Wind light and variable. Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 13. Dew point -11. Altimeter 2991. Arriving runway 29. Departing runway 29. Advise
Victor,
on
I don't
initial
care.
contact
Okay.
you have, Victor.
Interesting that the San Luis reports clear skies. That's interesting because I don't see that many clear skies over here, but apparently that's the case. Again, the weather is a bit off here in X-Plane with XEnviro. Still looking forward for that update. Or Active Sky Next that is jumping over, not really jumping over, but also supporting X-Plane very, very soon. Fingers crossed. We got some traffic there, and again we saw some AI that was using 2.9, so that's what we're going to do. Taxi here to the right, cross over, and then all the way back 2.9. We're going to depart over the waters, and we'll just have a view here on the GPS to have a sense of where we are. Why is this circle over here? I mean, I guess that's kind of like the echo of Oceano, but I don't know. Anyways, so we know that we are clear. I'm just going to practice my constant rate turns and that kind of stuff. Okay, we set the altimeter. That's good. My heading indicator is set. Thanks for the follow, Kila. Thanks. 2.9. And clock and stuff I don't need today. This is all good. Good. Now again, vacuum, as you can see, vacuum is very, very important. So what the vacuum is actually doing, it is spinning the gyros of the attitude indicator and the heading indicator. So wind is coming through those instruments, and there's a gyro that is spinning very, very fast. And well, by the laws of physics, we can read off our heading and our attitude. But if the vacuum is not there, and if air is not sucked through that instrument, then the instruments might become unreliable, even not work at all. Now, as you can see, with a low RPM setting, the vacuum is not in the green. Now, that's actually okay. The engine is not spinning that quickly, so not a lot of airflow is going through, you could say. But as you can see, if I raise the RPM, it should get into the green, and that's the case. But it's important. So that's also why on a descent, for example, in IMC, your vacuum can become... Oh, thanks for the subscription for Mike. Thank you. Much appreciated. That's encouraging. Thanks. Also with the descent, your attitude indicator or attitude indicator could become a little bit unreliable. I mean, it's important, this stuff. So that's why it's always good to check this also as part of the run-up, which I never did before. With the run-up with my VFR flights, I'm just looking at my oil pressure and whether everything is stable, but not at my vacuum, which I should now include. And I guess there's also a lot of other checks that I should do. All right. Whoa. That's set. We're ready. We are ready. Okay, good. Or we can just set this on. Again, making the turn. Turn indicators working. Slip indicators working. Heading indicators working. Attitude is stable. Thanks for the follow, P. Here we go. Oceanographic. Yellow Skyhawk is crossing runway 11 at the numbers to the other side and back taxiing to runway 29 for departure. Oceano. Easy going taxi. And there we go. Oceano is so cool. It's such a cute airport. And again, nostalgia. Stick on that taxi line. Just curious to see instrument flying, guys. So we're gonna fly into the soup. It's so unfamiliar or unfamiliar. It's a little bit. I'm a little bit not at ease, uneasy at doing that actually, because I'm so drilled that I should avoid clouds and the 3-5-1-2 rule and that stuff. It's weird now to. And again, in the real world with training, I think this is not how they do it. They use foggles, so you put on glasses, a unit on your face that limits your visuals just on top, so you cannot see over the dashboard and you not see the visuals outside. You can only focus on the instruments. Well, we could do kind of like the same and just focusing in and just fixating track IR on that stuff. But it might be a little bit more realistic and better training, and that's also the advantage of a sim, to fly into the clouds and just still have my track IR going and learn it that way, the real way, rather than putting on real foggles here on the channel, which I considered, but that's not what I'm going to. Okay, so here are we at the run-up. Thanks for the follow, Sudi. Happy Sunday. Episode 1 of my season 2. This is a very special episode. And again, it's so strange to think how after 100 episodes or so, I will be an instrument-rated flight simulator pilot, and I'm now looking at this episode thinking, oh my gosh, he doesn't have a clue yet how difficult it's going to be, or whatever what's going to happen. That excites me, and you guys can be part of that journey by following me along and seeing me how I can hopefully earn that instrument rating, I-11 rating, in the future. So here we are. Make sure full in engine is warm enough. Let's do that run up. 1800, everything is stable, no uninitiated messages. Oil pressure in the green, everything looks good and stable. Mag check, left mag is good. Back to both. Right mag looks good as well. Back to both. And as you can see, the vacuum is in the green as well. That's good. Landing lights, because we should still see a charge. All the way back to idle. Let's see what it does then. No enunciated messages, so no vacuum enunciated messages, but still you can see here that the vacuum is low. Again, not a lot of flow running through those instruments. You can see they're still working. I don't know how that, if you would see that even in the real world, if it then would wobble a little bit more on idle. I guess not. Landing lights on, strobe lights on. Let's do one more test here. Make sure that this stuff is working. Seems good to me. No one on the runway. And no one on final. Oceano traffic. Yellow Skyhawk is departing runway 29 straight out. Oceano. Thanks for the follow, Tak. Runway 29. Picture full in, lights on, fully lit up, elevator trim, good. Fuel tanks both. Right rudder, engine, still in the green, airspeed is alive. Little bump there in the runway. Right about here. Whoa, exciting. And there we go. Into the soup. Episode 1 first departure, guys, and you were part of it. Alright, let's get to VY here. It's a little bit nose down. And again, in the real world, you would never train in this way into the clouds, because then, as we are still VFR right now, we have no idea what all the other traffic is doing around us. But that's the advantage again of a flight sim. It's a weird looking cloud. Flat cloud type. Overcast at 400 feet. Yeah, that's what I read as well. Oceania traffic. Yellow Skyhawk has just departed runway 29 straight out. We're now going to fly southwest a bit and climb all the way up to about 2,000 feet or so and stay out of the traffic pattern area. Oceania. Nice fog there in the distance. Coast. One thing that I'm noticing here, if I go south, is the restricted area. R2516 starts at service and above. Yeah, so it's not good that we fly this direction. And over the sea, same thing. So let's go land inwards. And there's beautiful ocean. And again, guys, look at the photo reel here. It's so pretty. Landing lights off. Into the soup, almost there. So what I'm going to do is just some, I don't know how thick the cloud layer is. There's also something which is interesting if you look at the METARs. The METARs only tell you the ceiling, or the start, the base of the clouds. But as an IFR pilot, it also is quite relevant to know what the tops are, which is not reported in the METAR and in the AWAS and the stuff. And again, that's also what I mentioned a little time before, a chart that Keith also shared on the PilotEdge forums, a skew blah blah P plot. And I should also incorporate that here, perhaps as a web page. Here we go. On my iPad, so I can show that as part of the pre-flight briefing. Here we go. There's not a lot of clouds here. It's actually clearing up. So perhaps I should just set my own cloud layers here. Thanks for the follow, Ryan. Or perhaps as part of my flight, obviously, my first training flight, as I scheduled at least, of my stage 1 training. The first one was actually flying in marginal VMC. Look at this. So perhaps it's also good just to practice first while having a visual outside and get a sense of a constant rate, turn and that kind of stuff. That's Santa Maria over there on my GPS. And again, that's also a thrilling benefit of flying IFR, is that you can come much more closer to the clouds, obviously, and can usually lead to much more scenic flights. Cloud surfing. Let's get to 3,000 feet or so. Also lean already a bit. Everything looks good. 3,000. Terrain ahead. There goes the speed. Goes down trim. Set the throttle first. Something like this would be fine. A little bit nose down, trim there, and I think we would be fine. There we are. Cruising altitudes. EGT can be a little bit more leaned, or improved, I should say. Engine is looking good. RPM is looking good. Nice. Landing lights and everything is off. Okay, so 3,000 feet. So what I'd like to do from now on is not be plus or minus 100 feet of my cruising altitude. That should actually become even more precise than that later on. But I don't like to be off altitude. So guys, if you notice during any flights that I'm not on my altitude, let me know in the chat. That would be a great help. So let's just first do a constant rate turn here. Again, how high up is the delta of St. Louis? 2700, so we're already in the clear. Good. Let's just do a basic standard rate turn, right turn, and stay on 3,000 feet without hitting the terrain and stuff. So we'll just fly north, or 360 and end up north, something like that. Speed is okay. Oh, there goes my altitude. And a standard rate turn. That means that on my turn indicator, this right wing should hit that second notch over there. And that's also interesting. What I never realized is that I thought that a standard rate turn was measured just in the bank degree. But that's not true, because the bank actually, a standard rate turn is, I think, a turn in which you make a 360 degree turn in 2 minutes, I believe. I don't know for sure. And obviously, that rate of turn depends on your airspeed. If you're going faster, you need a more steeper bank. So it's not the bank angle, it's actually that turn indicator, which I never used. So here we go. Whoa, already passed that 2 minutes. That's interesting. So something like this. Keep that ball in the center. This is a standard rate turn for this speed. Good altitude, a little bit of a climb going. And again, I'm noticing that I'm already glancing each now and then outside to have a confirmation what I'm doing. Obviously, when I'm flying IMC, I cannot do that. Good speed. Everything looks good. I think. For now, overturn, yeah, it's quite subtle. So now a little bit more, I can see I'm turning faster. Now I'm turning a little bit slower, so it's actually quite... What happens if I use my rudder? No, that doesn't really help. It is mostly related to bank. Okay, interesting. Thanks for the follow. Niner, thanks. Welcome on board. 72 people on board. Whoa! Need to do my weight and balance checks before I leave. So, that's about our turn. And only in that last turn, because I was a bit distracted, I gained some altitude. But that was okay. Let's go for a left turn. Standard rate. Oh, that's too much already. My gosh. Again, start from the strain level. Just a basic turn, a little bit of left rudder. My gosh, that's only a tiny turn that's standard rated. This is a standard rate turn. I thought it was like this or something. Okay, this is a standard rate turn for this speed. Okay. Again, on the GPS you can see San Luis. Delta is now in front of us, but we are overflying it. And again, on PilotEdge it's not live currently. It's now CTAF, but still. A little bit too much. Good. Tiny bit of left rudder. Still not really that standard rate turn just yet. This is better. Good altitude. It's stable air, so it's quite easy actually. Looks good. Again, guys, as what I did with my season 1, I start on a very slow pace from scratch. I'm not in a hurry. I also just like the fun of learning how to fly, but you might think, oh my gosh, this is so easy. You should already start with approaches or departures. No, that's not what I'm going to do. What a gentle turn a standard rate turn actually is. Feel a bit not ashamed, but a bit weird about not being already familiar with what it feels like to fly a standard rate turn as a VFR pilot, because obviously that's also relevant for a VFR pilot. So never used the turn indicator before to spot what my rate would be. So again, you can imagine that we've got with partial instruments that's coming up in a few episodes ahead, that the attitude indicator would not work, and we need to rely on our turn indicator and heading indicator to infer what our, well, and also the speed and the vertical indicator to get a sense of what our airplane is doing. I cannot wait to do that. That will be so challenging. A little bit too steep here. Yeah, for Mike, that's true. That's exactly the habit. I think I already passed it several times now, my heading. We're now flying towards Oceano. Okay, good. That was okay. Now, let's do a climb to 5,000 feet. Constant climb. First up. Full speed. We'll just keep the mixture in. Airplane gradually goes up. That's confirmed by the vertical speed indicator. Airspeed should go to... Or should you... I remember a video that said that you shouldn't just give full power right away, but first pitch up and then give full power. What's the right order, guys? Should you first pitch up and then full power? So pitch up and go to 80 knots and then full power, or full power right ahead and now just increase your pitch angle so you get a VY going and then you reset your pitch? What's the right flow? Does anyone know? Thank Dad. Thank you, Dad. Welcome in the stream. This is my first instrument flight. It's so cool. And thank you, TL, for the follow, and Stick a Shader, thanks for the follow. Welcome on board. So again, I would like to be on 80, a little bit more trim up. This is not a constant rate climb. As you can see, my vertical speed is everywhere. I'd like to be at around 500 feet per minute. So here we are. Standard rate climb. That's about 80, that's good. Again, now trimming a bit. Thanks for the follow, Flight Level and Wursonst. Thank you. Again, we're now at around 600 feet per minute. It's not that constant yet. And again, I took about 20 seconds to get that constant rate, and I should be able to do that right off. And again, why is this important? That's also an important thing to talk about, I guess. Bravo, power first, then pitch. Roger. Why is this important? Well, for the instrument procedures, for descents and climbs, they require you to at least, or also for a descent, for example on the glide slope, require you to fly a constant rate descent. And if you are all over the place, life becomes quite challenging, and also you might exceed the limitations that are involved with the descent and stuff. So that's why it's important to be spot on with those descents and climbs. And again, guys, that's also what I loved about studying my complete training first before I started. I could also just start with instrument flying first without knowing what it's for. But to have a sense of meaning, why you need to practice this, is also so much more motivating to learn this stuff. Thanks for the follow, you. Welcome aboard. Happy Sunday, guys. 5,000 feet. So then, once we are there, should be around 10% of your vertical speed. So 500 feet, 50 feet before. So I should have already started my level off there. And I just keep my power in. Just use the yoke, not trimming yet. Allow the airspeed to increase to cruise. Thanks for the follow, Capix. Welcome aboard. That's cruising speed, reset to around 2300 or so. Then I'm trimming to relieve that yoke pressure. Whoa. Also, what I'm not doing is putting in right rudder as soon as I pull in, as I give full throttle. And so perhaps you noticed that there was a left bank tendency. That's because of that full power setting, like you do do with a takeoff roll and with your departure, you need to put in right rudder. Well, the same happens here. And again, with VFR flights, you could say, oh, it doesn't matter that much because I just see my visual reference point, or I'm not really flying a track, so it doesn't really matter. But with IFR flying, I need to be right on track. I need to keep flying that heading or that course. So even those rudder, stick and rudder skills become quite relevant. And looking at the GPS, we're now heading towards a restricted area. We're not there yet, but I need to be wary of that. Let's make a little bit of a turn there. Standard rate turn to the right. Again, that was not good procedure. Right rudder while we're turning, that's too much right rudder. I now make a right turn. I don't even need right rudder here to get into the right turn here. Again, there goes my, yeah, I also should pitch up a bit. And that should be a fluent kind of maneuver. I shouldn't just make the turn first, then recognize that I'm descending and then pitch up. Now it should be make the turn and gradually already pitch up a bit. Alright. 5,000. Thanks for the follow, VP. Thanks. Alright. Concentrate descent. Throttle back. Don't know how much. Let's see what happens, I guess. We could stick around 100 knots. I don't care. There's 500. Use my yoke here to keep it at 500 and then see what trim adjustments I need. A little bit nose down. It's also because I guess I'm picking up speed because I'm descending, and so the aircraft likes to go up. And also it's important. Thanks for the donation, Steve. Thanks. It's for a good donation goal. Actually, it's a fun donation goal. I'm gonna make them more meaningful next up, but that donation goal is cool. I'm gonna get that vintage aviator goggle and wear it on stream. That's so cool. I always wanted to have one, so that's a very much appreciated donation there, Steve. Thanks. What was I saying? Yeah, so this is a constant. This is a basic constant rate. This is clean, right? No hands, basic trim. This is good. One thing that Ryan commented on. Ryan is the CFI of PilotEdge. I chatted with him to get some feedback on my training schedule, and he said, well, I do not emphasize instrument flying that much or performance flying that much in the earlier stages of your training. So for example, the constant rate turn in this case, because he notices that many students then become so overly focused on hitting a constant rate climb or descent that they are not paying attention to other things that they need to do as student pilots. So for example, now you can see I'm now yo-yoing through my vertical speed, and what I could do is just focus. Oh my gosh, I'm not on 500. Oh no, and I need to go up. Oh no, and I need to go down. And then that's not the way to go about it, which is a fair feedback. But still, I think educationally, it's good to start with instrument flying and know that you should not chase the needle, but you should be able to make it constant. I think it's also very much fun. And you can do that as well today. Start up your sim. Do the same exercise that I'm doing right now. A little bit too of a rapid increase, but we're already back at 4,000. Descent to 3,000, by the way. I was mistaken. Bank, thanks for the follow. I thought that 4,000 was the altitude that we started from, but that was not true. We started at 3,000. So again, you can see I did not trim, so I would just use the yoke to pitch up, but if I leave the yoke, then I'm back at my usual configuration. I'm a little bit faster now, so I guess we get a nose up. Yeah, there it goes. You can see that speed, trim, or you could say power setting and trim, and then also wind changes, all determine that constant rate configuration. So rather than just focusing on the vertical speed, I should then also make sure that my speed is constant, which is kind of the same, but have you ever tried doing a slower type descent? That can really help when doing, if you pull back about 500 RPM, you get around a 500 RPM descent. Let the nose drop, but don't trim. Catch the nose and it will settle down. Once you get to the target level of reset the power you had before, bingo, you're... Oh, that's a good one, Kamak. Let's do that. And I guess it also works with the climb. We're now over the sea. I think if you look at the airplane, we're now making a gentle right turn, which is okay in a lower power. Well, it's not really a lower power setting, I guess. Let's review those King School videos. Full power, a little bit right rudder, because it's the same kind of tendency, right, to go left bank, or tendencies that make the airplane go to the left. But I think in an idle power setting, the airplane tends to go to the right, I think, and then you should give a little bit more left pedal, but I don't know for sure. Yes, Dave. Yeah, and well, what I said about, let me see, 50 feet now before my intended cruising altitude. So now I pitch up gradually, and again my yoke is much too sensitive. So that didn't work. But around 50 feet before you reach your cruising altitude with a 500 feet per minute descent in this case, you can already start your leveling off maneuver. Alright, a little bit of power back in. Whoa, that standard rate turn is so much more gentle than I thought. Again, nose up. And again, usually a safety pilot to my right in the right seat would now also look outside whether there's no traffic. I would now fly with goggles on, but that's not what I'm going to do today. Thanks for the follow, Tam. Round we go. Okay, again, a climb. Constant rate, constant speed, climb. First, I'd like to be just on cruise and trimmed. Should be kind of like the same, yeah. Okay. So, full power. Pitch up a bit. The vertical speed indicator is usually lagging a bit, so it's behind. There goes the 500 feet, something like this. But should I now first exceed the 500 feet per minute rate to get my speed to VY and then reset to 500 feet per minute? Or should I guess for cruise, it depends on what stage of flight you are. Right now, I think it would be fine just to keep at around 100 knots here, because we are in cruise. But in a departure setting, you should stay at 80 or VY. And again, I'm not putting left or right rudder in. As you can see, we're already starting to bank a little bit to the left. So that's what I forgot once more. So a little bit of right rudder there. And again, my airspeed is yo-yoing, and you can see that transfers to my vertical speed. So I'm not going to chase the needle now, just allow it to settle down first. A little bit too much right rudder, as you can see on my slip indicator. Again, I don't know whether that's realistic actually, in terms of how much pressure I need to set with my rudders here, but again, yo-yoing a bit, but let's see what happens. A little bit of right rudder, something like this. Lay, only use VX and VY if you really need to, otherwise just keep your rights. Thanks for that feedback. Makes sense. Thanks, guys. Again, making that left turn, so it's so subtle. I'm really with my toes, very gently, giving a little bit of right rudder here to keep it straight, but you can see it's now already making a right turn. So perhaps I should reset my rudder to make it a little bit less sensitive. 400 feet per minute. Yeah, I don't know, Bravo. I don't know. I should review that, I guess, off stream. Okay, I kind of get the standard climb stuff. Again, need much more practice. Thanks for the follow, too. Thanks for the follow. 67 people on board. That's amazing. Thanks, guys. That's a record. It's awesome as part of the first episode of Season 2 here. Well, I'm not really that spot on yet. I guess I should not only trim once, but keep adjusting there. There's a flight just in front of us. I guess going to St. Louis. I mean, it's okay to, I guess, to allow the airplane to yo-yo a bit, but on the average, I should climb at 500 feet. So I could also very gently correct a bit with the yoke, I guess, while I'm in a trimmed. We're all stacked on the roof and wings, while the mud sit inside of their. Yeah, that's true. Gaming Reborn. Thank you for the follow, Smoke Go. Happy Sunday. So, I'm kind of getting used to, not perfect yet, those standard rate climbs and descents. Not did a standard rate descent yet for the second time. Let's now also use constant heading. So let's say making a right turn, standard rate turn to 210 while descending from 5,000 feet to 3,000 feet. Right? And not really that constant with my climb yet. I have to say though, my yoke is very sensitive. They're not even a centimeter, not even millimeters. And already it's hard to be very gentle there. But okay, that's not really a big problem. Again, allowing the airspeed to increase the cruise, reset my throttle. Alright. So, Skyhawk, Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, Sokol approach. Please turn to the right heading 210 and descend to 3000. Maintain at 3000. Roger. There we go. A little bit of a right rudder there. Nose up. No, not nose up, because we're going to descend. Overturn the turn. This is a standard rate turn. Little less throttle. 500 feet. Or 500 RPM would give me something like 500 feet. Drop. And standard rate, something like this. A little bit more right rudder. I'm not really coordinating. Oh, less right rudder. Nice descent, but I didn't trim yet. I'm pulling a little bit on the yoke, so trimming now. Oh, overshot my heading. And this is what's going to happen, guys. Multiple things that you need to look out for, and you need to scan and not fixate. But my descent is okay. There we go. Good descent rate. Well, that trick of 500 RPM seems to work. Thanks, you guys. Janik, welcome aboard. Thanks for the cheer. And finally, my cheer notification works. That's good to see as well. Thank you. And again, I'm off of my heading. It's about checking, rechecking, checking, rechecking. Constant rate is perfect on the heading bug. Keep it on. Speed is okay. Again, heading towards the restriction area. Looking at my GPS. Thank you, man. Appreciate you being here. Three-da. Again, drifting off a bit to the right. Again, engine is looking good still. Very good descent rate here. But there's a right turning tendency, perhaps also by winds, I don't know. Because of winds. let's bank a little bit to the right there to stay clear of that restrictive. So what we could do is just descend a little bit further on and go into the cloud ceiling and then do a stick on the same altitude and then make a 360. And I would like to do one in a standard rate turn, but also a steep turn. Let's see if I can handle that. Thanks for the follows, guys. Fortune and Melody. Thanks for the follows. Welcome on board and happy Sunday. First episode of season 2. This is a special episode. And again, it's so weird that I'm now having quite a hard time, actually. Well, not a hard time, but doing these very basic instrument flying training here. While in episode 50 here in the season 2, I will be flying complex approaches and departures, and I'm so much more knowledgeable and skilled. It's a nice idea. Oh, interesting, Dean. But so far so good. Constant rate, good descent. But let's keep that descent going and go to this cloud layer. It's not thick. So it's a really typical morning fog kind of cloud layer. Because remember, currently at Oceano, it's early morning. Usually when the sun rises, the ground heats up and all of this cloud stuff dissipates, which would then also be simulated here in Flight Sim. That's why it's so interesting and so educational, I think, to read proper weather charts. Why am I suddenly getting a updraft? Let's continue that descent. A little bit more nose down. Again, it's hard to be sensitive with the yoke here, at least with my current settings. Alright, almost there. Restrictive is to the left here. Also far out over sea, which is not a good thing in case of an engine out, so let's go a little bit to the right. And while we do so, stick at 500 feet rate, Tim. This is our rendered standard rate turn. Good. Good, good, good. Oh, that's too much. Again, making a turn, you will descend a little bit more. So that's why I should use a little bit more pitch up. Keep that descent going. There's the coast. But again, as soon as I hit this cloud layer, it seems to dissipate again. Okay. Thanks for the follow, Tien. Thanks. Let's stick to 2000. And Alex, welcome on board, guys. Well, it's a bit too early there at the full throttle because we didn't reach 2000 yet. Okay, so no IMC currently. We're going to do that in the next flight again as scheduled. Today was all about constant rate turns and descents and climbs in marginal VMC, so that's good. Let's now do a steep turn while staying on altitude, and let's say that I don't want to lose 100 altitude or more, or gain 100 feet of altitude. Alright, so 360 degrees, 60 is our current heading. Track AR is on. What is a steep turn? I think it's between these two. This is 60, this is 45, it's something around here, or this is 10, 20, 30, this is 30, this is 60, and it should be 45. Okay, left turn first, while remaining on 2,000 feet. Well, let's pretend that we did clearing turns and all that kind of stuff. Pull some G's. There we go. Only focusing on instruments right now. Gentle turns. Prevent that yo-yoing. That's going to happen right now. A bit down. Come on, Tim. Good. Slow turn. Gentle corrections. Gentle correction. Again, this is also so important that you're not chasing the needle. That vertical speed indicator is distracting me. It's also lagging behind, so that's already one turn. All right, let's stay at 2000. Come on, Tim, go, and nose down. Right turn. Whoa, nose up. Let's pretend that it's completely clear outside. Keep it there. No rudder. Come on. A little bit more right rudder here. That's what I totally forgot with the left turn. Come on, Tim. Focus. Too much. And again, the yoke is not as fluid with the movement as in the real world, so it suddenly good. Well, not too bad. I succeeded with this exercise. Again, we're going much faster, so that's why we have a tendency to climb. Just use yoke. Good. That was not bad. That was not bad at all. And there's the coast. And Oceano is over there. Good. What can we do next? Thanks for the follow. Wait. Thanks. Welcome on the stream. I would like to do another combined kind of turn and stuff. Let's go to a heading of 150 to 3,000 feet. Full power. Nose up. Make the gentle turn, standard rate turn. Something like this. Oh, this is too much pitch up. So that's not good. Again, initializing the procedure is important, I think. There's a lot of stuff going on there. If you're too aggressive there, you mess up. So reset. Just east. And let's pretend we'll just level off here. It's fine. 100 knots, still a bit less power. Cruising east at around 100 knots or 90 knots. And there we are. Okay. Heading 150, altitude 3000. So, full power. Gentle turn. Looking at my vertical speed. There's 500. That's much more controlled. A little bit more. A little bit more. A little bit more, Tim. Good. There comes the heading bug. Man, there's a lot of reading going on here in the instruments. There we are. On heading, 500. Could have also trimmed, I guess, already in my turn, but perhaps that would be a little bit too much. But if I would, then I can leave out almost one instrument, which is the vertical speed, because I trimmed for that and I can only focus on the heading. So that would work, I guess. On heading, okay-ish climb, good. About 300 feet to go. Airspace 2,800 of Santa Maria, so that's good. Good. This was okay. Going a little bit higher up now. A little bit too fast up. Nose down, gentle. Already at cruising speed. Less power. And trim down. And keep on heading. A bit more power. Good. That's okay. Left turn 030 and climb to 4,000 feet. Again, guys, basic procedures, but it's essential. Full power, gentle bank, there's our standard rate turn. You don't even have to pull on the yoke yet, because just adding power makes the airplane want to climb, obviously. There we go, 500 feet-ish per minute. Not standard rate turn. Here's our standard rate turn. A little bit nose up. And trim for that. So I don't need to think that much about my vertical speed. Yeah, that helps. Now I can more focus on the heading bug. And thanks for the follow, Jimmy. Thanks. Hope you guys are enjoying this basic training as well. There we are. Level off. Again, now we should trim down a bit because we're not in a turn, so our airplane will climb a little bit more easy. Good. Good. Don't say that too early. A little bit climb. A little bit up there. Speed is okay, but my climb is not really at 500. Again, I'm now a little bit chasing the needle here, but it's okay. Whew. Getting the hang of it, and again, it needs to be drilled and practiced, drilled and practiced. – 4,000 feet is coming up. Okay, next up we're going to do a descent. If that goes smooth as well, just 2 descents. So first from 4,000 to 3,000 and to 3,000 to 2,000. If that goes well with the turning, and I'm not on my not on my heading, I'm going to go to Oceano and do some traffic pattern flying, and then sign off. Because I like to fly some patterns as well. 4,000. Come on, I already pushed on the yoke. There we are. Good. Already at cruising speed, so a little bit less power. Still on the heading. And that's good. Awesome. And thanks for the follow, Inai. Let's go to a heading of 240 and descend to 3,000. So again, less power. Standard rate turn. Again, I'm just pulling on the throttle. My airplane should go down naturally. Yeah, that's a much more better flow rather than pushing on the yoke. There's my 500. Still standard rate turn. Let's trim for that 500 feet descent. So I can relieve myself of that yoking. And I can now more steadily focus on my heading. There it comes. Again, going level, so that means that my airplane wants to go up. So then a little bit, that's a bit too early. Push down now on the yoke, so I remain on that 500 feet climb, also perhaps a little bit less power. And trim again. Or retrim. And there we are, 240, descending. A little bit more than what I'd like to, but again, not chasing the needle there. Good, and again, staying track with that heading. You can see my airspeed is increasing right now, so I'm not at constant speed, and that means that we will go up, as you can see now on the vertical speed. So perhaps I could have set a little bit less power here, because now I changed the power, my trim is also off. So again, first allow the airplane to get to a stable configuration while using the yoke. And once you manage that, then it makes sense to trim, because if your speed is still changing, you can trim on that, but because the speed is changing, you need to retrim, obviously. So get a little bit nose up here. Thanks for the follow, guys. Halil, much appreciated, and happy Sunday. And Oregano, that's a good name. Welcome aboard. 58 people on board in my cozy 4-seater Cessna Skyhawk. Constant speed, it seems. So a little bit nose up. I'm noticing that I was pulling a bit. Already passed my 3,000 feet mark. Power in. Should put in my power in first and then pitch up. But you can see multiple things are going on and you fixate and you forget about, yeah, always scan. And that's going to be something, I mean, the reminder of the clock with my VFR training with season 1 became quite funny, and still I haven't still not managed to include the clock in my scan or my procedure, my checks. But this is going to be even more challenging. A bit more power here. .500 feet climb. Alright. Come on. Good. Allow the airspeed to increase. I'm off of my heading. Pull back on the throttle. Cruise RPM. Good. Next up. Descent from 3,000 to 2,000 to 300. Pull on the throttle. Natural descent. Standard rate turn. Good. Make that turn. Trim up a bit. Keep it there at 500. Standard rate turn. Heading speed is coming up. Checking my altitude. A little bit nose down. And there we are. Leveling off. A little bit nose down there. And there goes my speed. The speed. Can already use some nose down trim here. A little bit wobbly. Thanks for the follow, Spit and Mike. Welcome aboard. Oh, it's a bit too much. Really pulling on that yoke here. Seems good to me. Good. Yeah, snipe. Oh, Black. Welcome on the stream. And Bilal. Welcome, guys. Much appreciated you being here. Uncertified pilots. It's all about learning how to fly, and I'm learning how to fly IFR on this stream on PilotEdge, all the procedures, real-world training program. Hop over to UncertifiedPilot.com for my schedule and all my background information and what I'm up to. Just with the Cessna 172, and I can tell you, without an autopilot, with the Cessna 172 and also not using the GPS, in this case it's just a reference instrument here, but nothing more, that can be quite challenging and exciting, really. Still nicely on heading. 2,000 feet is coming up. Just put in power, so that would also give me a rise of the nose, I guess. Yeah, there it is. Good. Already on cruise. A little bit more power. And trim a bit. Good. Okay. So it's not that difficult to just focus on one aspect of the flight, so constant rate turn or constant rate descent or climb, but combining it, it's more difficult because you need to check multiple things. Still, I'm noticing that I'm relying on my outside view as well, so doing this in IMC would become more challenging even. Alright, so that's okay for now. Let's enter the pattern at Oceano and do some traffic pattern flying, just because it's fun. 29. Good. It's also interesting, you can see my heading indicator is turning, but my magnetic compass is not. And I'm also going to learn how to fly on the compass, so that's going to be interesting. There's the coast, and thanks for the follows, guys. Turb, thanks for the follow. checking my GPS now to get a heading going for Oceano. Airport elevation is 14, so 0. So just 1,000 feet would be a nice, I guess, a nice traffic pattern altitude. So let's get that descent going. 29 was in use. Left hand. So that's perfect. So let's go a little bit more to the right here and enter the 45 downwind. We're now 5 miles out. Oceano traffic, yellow Skyhawk is currently at 1,500 feet, 1,500 feet, descending to traffic pattern altitude coming from the west. We're going to enter the left downwind for runway 29 on the 45 degree. Oceano. Okay, then let's make that turn to Oceano right now. Perhaps it would be more safe to stick at 2,000 because we're so far out. In case of an engine out, I would like to have all the altitude that I need to make the coast. I can see a beacon or some kind of light there in the distance. Guess that's from an airplane. Land lights on. Mixture full in. Parking brakes are released, I think. Yeah, they are. Good. Almost at traffic pattern altitude. What weather currently at Oceano in the morning? It's usually the case. Okay, a little bit less power. There's 1,000. Speed around 90 knots here. One notch of flaps. Now a little bit more power here. Trim a bit. No one in the pattern as far as I can see. Well, no, it's a police car. Oceano traffic, yellow Skyhawk is turning on the left downwind from runway 29 for a touch and go. Oceano. Here we go, a little bit nose up. What a nice scenery. Look at this beach. Actually protected area. Parallel with the runway. Good. Ah, this is cool. I love traffic pattern flying. I also love VFR flying, guys. IFR flying is so cool, and it will also benefit my VFR flying in terms of precision and skill, and also more knowledge about the airspace and stuff. Thanks for the follow, Xerox. But VFR flying and traffic pattern flying still makes up most of the spirit of the Uncertified Pilot. Echo airspace flying is so much fun. There's some traffic in front of us. Oceano traffic, yellow Skyhawk is turning left base, runway 29 for a touch and go. Oceano. There we go. In the white band is the speed. Second notch of flaps. There's our base turn. Where is that runway? There it is. Alright, no one to the right of us. Good. Oceano traffic, yellow Skyhawk is turning. Final runway 29, touch and go, Oceano. Ooh, that's a nice turn. A little bit overshot it. Someone is taxiing to 29. The haziness makes it so pretty. Thanks for the follow, love. A lot of love here in my Cessna Skyhawk. Papa Hotel Tango Any Mike. Love for passion, love for aviation. Let's get to a right speed here. Get mixture full in, landing lights, everything is on. Good. Short runway. A little bit nose up. Nose up, nose up, nose up. Oh yeah. Right rudder there. Full power. Let's prevent that. Yeah, good. That hump there in the runway. Nose down a bit, VY. Good. Oceania traffic, yellow sky goes down the upwind, 29, close traffic. That's VY. A little bit of a nose up trim there. 700 feet AGL, 300 feet before traffic pattern altitude, we're gonna make our crosswind turn. No sky, not Holland, Southern California. I'm flying on PilotEdge. And PilotEdge is a online multiplayer network, provides real-world professional ATC in-flight sim. And those guys, the coverage area of PilotEdge is Southern California. That's why I'm flying Southern California. It's a beautiful area. Oceania traffic, yellow sky is turning left, crosswind runway 29 for touch and goes, Oceano. Here we go. There's the heading bug. Oceania traffic, yellow sky is turning left downwind runway 29, touch and goes, Oceano. Back to the bottom. Speed is okay. And 1,000 feet. Trim down a bit. Parallel with the runway confirmed. No one's in the pattern yet. What is that traffic doing on the runway? I can see it blip there on the threshold. Seems to be AI because I'm not hearing anything. There it goes. Alright, we're already slower than 100 knots, so that means 1 notch of flaps, push down on the yoke, nose down trim, yeah, rotation on the upwind, good. Everything is looking fine. Yeah, I like this weather. A little bit rainy, drowsy weather, but it's scenic. What do you think, guys? I think it's pretty. A little bit off of my heading here, flying away from the airport, which is not a bad thing, rather that than flying towards, but I also, as part of my IFR training, I should be right on the heading. We already start our descent, by the way. Should have already started our descent. Again, I don't see anyone on final. Oceania traffic, yellow Skyhawk is turning left base runway 29 for touch and goes, Oceano. Alright, like to keep my speed there in the white band, so going a little bit too fast. That's better. Nose up can also help to slow down a bit more. Alright, Oceania traffic, yellow Skyhawk is now turning final runway 29, touch and goes, Oceano. Again, overshot the runway just a bit. So I guess I should extend my crosswind leg just a little bit more in the next lap. So I buy myself more room and time for my base turn, or my base leg. There we go. There goes the power, like to be at around 65. It's a really small runway. For a starting airport, or an airport to start from, doing your VFR training, also for, in my case with my season 1. It's actually quite a challenging runway to land on, opposed to St. Louis or... It's a small runway. Alright, good. Goes up. Well, it was a little bit more rough, but okay. Power, and again, there's that hobble here just in front of me, so a little bit nose wheel up so I don't damage. Good. There we go, lift off, nose down, VY first. Cute Oceano. There we are on VY and nose up. Last lap. Oceania traffic, yellow Skyhawk is on the upwind 29, full stop this time, close traffic. go. Now let's extend the crosswind leg here just a bit, so we have more time to make that base the final turn. Thanks for the follow. Boom. Welcome on board. Happy Sunday. Alright, no one on our crosswind leg. So did not hear anyone on the radio, but you never know with Northern traffic. Oceano traffic. Yellow Sky is now turning left crosswind 29. Full stop. Oceano. And that's our base. Let's go to traffic pattern altitude first. Oceano traffic, Yellow Skyhawk is turning left downwind 29, full stop, Oceano. Oh yeah. A little bit too fast on the RPM there. Nose down trim. Much farther away from the airport, and again the distance that you should be away of the runway is based on your engine out situation. So in case of an engine out, would I be able to still make the field? That's a good rule. Thanks for the follow, Bucky, and 2 R's. Thanks, much appreciated, guys. All right, already below 100 knots. 1 notch of flaps. I can see some traffic in front of us. Don't see any position lights there, so I can infer whether he's coming towards us or away from us. We passed the numbers. Let's get the descent going. Again, we're set. And then we're going to park and call it a day. And that was the first episode of Season 2, guys. I'm so happy that all of you came along here. Just basic instrument flying. We're going to do that also, but in the next episode in IMC. So I'm going to set my own weather. And I have no reference to outside reference. It's going to be much more challenging. Oceano traffic. Yellow Sky is now turning left base runway 29. Full stop, Oceano. Traffic is going above Oceano, that's good. There comes the heading bug. Speed is in the white band, just barely. Yep, there it is. Second notch of flaps. Much more time now, as you can see, to make that turn. So let's make it right now. Perhaps a bit too early, but hey. Keep that runway in sight. Yeah, that's better. As you can see, if I extend my crosswinds, I make it a little bit more easy for my base turn. Get to approach speed here. 75 is okay, but near touchdown it should be around 60 or even less. With full flaps, it's 40 stall. With flaps up, it's at the greenish here, so that's around 48. As you can see at my landings, I'm still going quite fast actually. And it's okay to have some margin, but it's better to her on the last moment before touchdown to hear the stall horn. Almost the sound of perfection. Nose up trim there. Gently allowing the airspeed to bleed off while our nose raises here. Yeah, that's better. Again, far end of the runway. Ah, not pretty. The idea was good, but not pretty. And also you don't have that much sight. I rather prefer the 65 knot landing. Thanks for the follow, Tronar. Back at Oceano. Such a cute airport and such a meaningful airport.
Traffic on this guy flying runway 2 now. We're going to be remaining in the pattern left closed.
Someone else is flying here, that's awesome. Ocean traffic at Skyhook is clearing runway 29, taxiing back to the ramp for parking. Oceano, have a good flight. Okay, landing lights off, strobe lights off, lean for ground. Yeah, this is cute. Remember my first episode, guys, at season 1? I was walking here towards my sky lane, actually. That's what I started with. I'm not parking at the exact same spot here, but... yeah, that's fine. There's the takeoff. Cool. Avionics off. Kill the engine. Magnetos off. Batteries off. Parking brake set. Prevent crossfeeding. Door open. Fix my track IR. Seatbelts released. And there we are. Completes episode 1 of season 2. That was awesome. That landing hurt, yeah. My spine as well, Bucky. I mean, the theory was good with the stall, but you see that as soon as I then pitch up, when I'm still above the runway, you need to be sure that you're close to the runway, otherwise you just fall onto the ground. And I'm also not flying with full flaps, that's also important. So that was a 20-degree flap landing each time. So no, I totally agree, that was not nice. Rather stick to that 60 knot-ish kind of landing. Thanks for the follow, Bennett. And thank you for all the follows, guys. It really means a lot. And also so many of you here, 63, that's a new kind of baseline, perhaps. So many of you here on the stream. It really means a lot. It's awesome. What's also awesome, by the way, or awesome, it's a nice memory that with my first ever stream, which you can also find here on Twitch and also on YouTube, I archive all my flights there. With my first stream, I had a raid of Dumo or Geek Domo, I believe. And I was completely new to streaming. Thanks for the follow, Starman. So I was doing my things and I was just very casually talking like, okay, here I am, season 1, episode 1. And suddenly people came into the chat. Raid or Domo raid or something like that. And I had no idea what that meant. I thought, oh my gosh, that's me. First episode, I've got trolls. And so I was looking. I think I didn't even notice, but afterwards in the episode, I was noticing my souls on board count, viewers count. And I saw... First, I saw just a few minutes after I started. I did some announcements, so I guess Geekdomo was excited about my stream or just granted me some kind of support. I don't know. 5 viewers, 10 viewers, 20 viewers, 40 viewers, 70 viewers, 90 viewers, 110 viewers, 150 viewers, 150. The first stream, and my follow notification was like Christmas, like cling, 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 while I was talking. And I was actually thinking, oh my gosh, this is so distracting. I really thought that someone was messing me up or following, unfollowing, which was so funny if I look at that. And you can still look it up on YouTube or here on Twitch. Episode 1 of my first season. It was so funny. Happened all here. So actually, that record has not been broken. Around 160 viewers or so on my very first episode. That was really awesome. But still, I know that many of you are trusty followers following me along on my journey. Also through my journey of my season 1 VFR flights that I completed. Still, I have lots to learn and perfect as part of a VFR pilot. But now with my season 2, you can become part of that journey as well and give me feedback and shares and see how it is like to come as close to a real-world instrument rating in Flight Simulator as I possibly can on PilotEdge with all the right charts, with the ATC on PilotEdge in a Cessna 172. Real-world weather, also preset weather to learn how to fly with 0 visibility settings. I think that is really, really cool. Bretson, thanks for the host. Much appreciated that. Cappy, if you land with a lower set of flaps, reference speed is higher than 50. Yeah, that's true. Sure, that's totally true. Sniper, check out UncertifiedPilot's Discord for a couple of photos of today's track from Pilot. Oh, thank you, Snipe. Yeah, and that's also a good reminder in general, by the way. I think Moobot is also reminding that on my Discord. You can find the link here in one of the information panes on my Twitch channel. You can also find it if you're looking on watching this on YouTube in the information content comment box below. You can find a link to my Discord where you can meet up and chat with me off stream, but also with all my friends, flight sim buddies that are over there. And we share screenshot, do group flights, but also chat about developments, software, flight simming in general, stuff that we do, cat ratings, I ratings. So if you're interested in that, you can join my hangar, you could say, off stream, and perhaps meet some new flight sim buddies as well. Announcement, also goodies, free downloads like the 828 checklist that I made, unofficial student checklist, a huge checklist. This one actually, with, well, plus I think 200 items or so, but it gives you a very thorough check of everything that you need to do. Usually checklists are much more abbreviated, but this is actually kind of like educational material. So if you're interested in that, hop over to UncertifiedPilot.com or my Discord, and you can just hit a link and you can download it right away. Also, we've got the checklist of the 182 Skylane, also of the Airfall Labs 172 for X-Plane. I also have a traffic pattern diagram that shows you all the right speeds and maneuvers and things that you need to say on ATC or on the CTAF. It's all there. So if you like to have some goodies on this Sunday, hop over to Discord or UncertifiedPilot.com and grab those goodies right away. And thanks for the follows, guys. Stop and 89er and Fly. That's much appreciated. Yeah, you missed the flight, Tagro, but you can always review the flight. So let's do that as well for ourselves before I sign off. Hey, that's good. That's someone else, I think. So cute. That's also nice by PilotEdge that you're flying with others as well in the stream. That sense of community is so important and so encouraging. Also for Mrs. Uncertified, that's been soloing a few episodes ago, or actually that was the last episode. Again, guys, if you haven't seen it, look it up. The previous stream where my girlfriend got interested in flight simming as well. And I'm teaching her how to fly here also on stream. And she did her first solo on Towered Airfield on 29 Palms, I believe, on PilotEdge, with many of you supporting her and also flying in the pattern. That's a wonderful episode. I'm really proud of that and also proud of her. So if you didn't catch that episode, have a look. Also on my highlights here on Twitch, you can find many, many memorable moments of my season 1. Bombs, thank you for the follow as well. So let's review the landing. First, disconnected from PilotEdge. Wonderful. Oceano, it's such a cute airport. Recorder. And that's a, well, the flight with the turns wasn't that interesting, I guess. To review in this case. Well, perhaps it is, to see how constant my turns were. Control P. Let's have a look. Up, 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 up we go. Yeah, you can see those turns were actually very, very nice. Gentle, constant rate turns. Also here, my steep turns. No, those were not steep turns. Those were standard rate turns at the beginning of my flight. You can see they were quite consistent. Almost at the exact same spot as where I started with. So that's good. And again, that's the turn coordinator for you. That's exactly what it's meant for. Let me see here. Here were the steep turns, I guess. I think so. Those were the steep turns. Thanks for the follows, guys. Jake747, thank you so much. One is actually a little bit bigger than the other. That's weird. I mean, a steep turn is a steep turn. Well, perhaps not, because my speed would perhaps be different. So again, this is perhaps a great example of why the turn coordinator exists. Because I don't know for sure. Because if you make a turn with the same bank angle, but with a different speed, you get different circles, right? You get different ground tracks. And that's actually what you see here. So even though I had the same bank, that 45-degree bank, which was actually quite consistent, as you can see, it went pretty well. Also in terms of altitude, I think. Look. The turn indicator can tell you a bit more. But I guess, I don't know with a steep turn what the turn indicator should read. I guess a full-blown kind of deflection. I don't know. Well, it was good in terms of altitude. Look at that. That was okay. For a steep turn, I'm happy with that. Hey Keith, good morning, good to see you. So that was good, but again, it was quite basic here in marginal VMC conditions. Next, in the next episode, I'd like to do the same thing, but then with preset weather, no visibility, and see how that works. So constant rate climbs, constant rate descents, constant rate turns, and combined. and then see how that goes. And I guess the same kind of messiness will come up with the fixating on one instrument, right? So fixating on the vertical speed and get a constant to trim for a constant rate climb or descend, and then totally forgetting about the heading bug that I said, or the altitude that I need to reach, or so I think that's going to be a recurring theme in the following episodes, I guess also with the next stages, but that's fun. That's also it requires some practice, but I think it doesn't make sense, doesn't have much added value to do this flight once more in marginal VMC. No, in the next flight let's do it in IMC conditions, preset conditions with no visibility, just an overcast layer, thick layer of well, from 3,000 up to 6,000 or so we can do a lot of practice there. Okay, so this was all the training. Let's also review the landings, the traffic patterns, which is also cool to do. It's not part of the goal of this particular lesson, but it might be cool to see and have a look. That looks good. Oh, that's far out. Entering the downwind here. 45 degree. Very constant turns here. You can see this, the last turn I extended my crosswind leg, so I had much more time here to make my base to final turn. Here you can see that's why I'm overshooting. Oh, this one. Yeah, so you can see I overshoot here a bit. Well, if I take time and extend my crosswind leg over there, I have much more time here to start my base to final turn early and be right on track. So that's interesting. Okay. Shift 4. Let's have a look. Again, I love this photo reel here around the Oceano Airport. Bretson, slow down. You're talking so fast. Yes, sorry, that's just me. I try to talk slower in future episodes. I'm just so excited. I guess my brain is running faster than what I can say at the same time. But all right, slow. So nose up. Looks good. Main wheels first. Pop, pop. And then the nose wheel. And yeah, you can see it was a little bit crabbed here. So running off of the center line. But okay. Then already put up the nose here. So I didn't hurt the nose wheel here with this bump. Kind of like a short field takeoff. Make that turn once more. Yeah, Tronor, or Tronor Rail. Practice, practice, practice. That's the only way how you can fix that. Base the final turn. Here we go. One notch of flaps. Again, overshot it because I was too short there, too tight with the crosswind turn. Notch of flaps is good. A little bit crabbed. Wasn't aware of that. Whoa! Yeah, you can see. That was a bit messy. Go back. I mean, nice attitude, nice pitch here, but you can see this one touches first. Boom, and then that one, which is not bad for a forward slip landing, but I wasn't aware of that, so I was actually a bit crabbed, I think. Yeah, just a tiny bit. You can see that my nose was a little bit tilted, or a little bit, you can see I'm not really aligned with the runway. I'm actually also floating to the right. So now you can see I'm quite crabbed here, so now I touch down, and I got traction on the runway, and so I skid off to the left because I'm pointing to the left. Yeah, wasn't aware of that. That's silly to see. Let's do it a little bit more quicker. Where are we? Yeah, that's good timing. Downwind to base. And this was the rough landing where I was bragging about the stall horn. And in this case, it wasn't a sound of perfection, it was a sound of crash. So again, here I'm coming. Crabbed again. Quite extensively crabbed, by the way. And I'm not correcting for that on touchdown. So I skid off the runway right away. I didn't notice that at all. That's bad. T-Ron, thanks for the follow. And I should have you correct for this crab position by at this moment then put in right rudder, so you align yourself with the center line, and at the same time put in left aileron, so you correct for wind and not drift off of the center line. And this is actually quite bad for the wheels because I'm almost skidding over the runway, and as soon as my wheels get traction on the runway, you can skid off the runway. As you can see, look at this distance, almost halfway down here to the left, so that's not good. One more time from the front. Really high nose. It doesn't look that bad as what it felt like in the cockpit. One last time, guys, sorry. Ship 9. See, quite slow. Up, up, up with 20-degree flight. You hear the stall horn. Yeah, it was a bit rough. It was a bit rough. I like Oceano. It is special. This is actually where it all started on PilotEdge with my VFR training. That's awesome. Okay, guys, that completes my first episode of Season 2. Such a special episode, and it's so good to see so many of you here on the stream. My gosh, as a baseline almost. 50 people on board. That's new. That's really encouraging. Thank you so much. Hoping you enjoy the content, obviously, because now it's time for instrument flying. My gosh, it's going to be challenging, and this is just the basics. Stage 1. Again, if you're interested in my progress, hop over to UncertifiedPilot.com to see my training schedule, all the stages that I will go through as part of this Season 2 of the series. I will also do some VFR flying, some other fun stuff, obviously, but mainly it's all about coming as close to a real-world instrument rating and flight simulator as I possibly can. Also, again, thanks for Keith and Ryan, the CFI of PilotEdge, also Finish G for reviewing that training schedule, so I get an approval of the big guys that I know that these training flights are actually meaningful and structured in a sensible way. That's awesome. Thank you for the follow, Bilal. Yeah, so next up in episode 2, most likely, I'm going to practice the same skills, but then in zero visibility conditions. I'm going to preset my own weather, an overcast from 2000 to 6000, something like that, and do, again, constant rate turns, climbs, descents, and at the same time, and really get that skill going. Perhaps it's going to be quite challenging there. I'm curious to see how I will do. I don't know when I'm going to stream, perhaps tomorrow evening, don't know for sure just yet, but just subscribe to my, join my Discord server and follow the news channel there, so you'll be the first to know when I'm going to fly, or my Twitter, because that's also the place where I announce my flight, so you'll be the first to know, and you can jump aboard right when I start and jump into the cockpit. Again, guys, Zul, thank you for the follow. Thank you for all the follows. Again, guys, means a lot. Thank you for the cheers. Also, the subscription. It really means a lot. Miniwebs, thank you again. Instrument flight rules. That's correct. Thank you, guys, for dropping in. No pizza, no glory. Thank you to see you. Good to see you here as well. Scandinavian, good to see you also. So many trusty followers. It really means a lot. It's an awesome community. Okay, having said that, guys, as always, happy flights. blue skies, and hoping to see you very, very soon. Bye. Palm Springs Tower, Skyline Hotel Tango, and the mic is 10 miles north of the airport at 3000, with information X-ray inbound for a full stop, landing 13 left if that's available.
Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, Palm Springs Tower, squawk 6250.
6250.
Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, Palm Springs altimeter is 2985, radar contact, about 10 miles west of the Palm Springs VOR. Presently landing runway 31, so you're requesting straight up for 13.
If that's available, yes please.
Remember, correction, Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, make straight in runway 13 left and clear to land. Wind is 09005.
Clear to land, runway 13 left, Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike, thanks.
Palm Springs clearance plus 4658 is type PC12 slam call request clearance to Vegas S file.
Hollis 4658, Palm Springs clearance. Good afternoon. Unable to give you S file, I'll be forward down. Hollis 4658 is cleared to the Las Vegas airport. VFI Cathedral 1 departure procedure to Palm Springs. Victor 370 to 29 Palms. Victor 538 Cresso. Join the Cresso 3 arriving. Maintain 7000. Expect flight level 2405 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 126.7. Squawk 6316.
Palm Springs 580 is cleared to Vegas via Cathedral 1, Palm Springs Victor 37029, Palms Victor 538 Cresso 3. Initially climb 7000, expected for 0 after 5, departure 1267, squawk 6316, plus 465.
Pause 4658, readback is correct. Tango India Mike, taxi to ground via Echo maintenance frequency.
Taxiing to the ramp via Echo, remaining on this frequency, Papa Hotel Tango, India Mike.
Ontario Tower, Cessna 237 Charlie Alpha, approximately 4 miles to the west, inbound to land.
Number 237 Charlie Alpha, roger, inner left, traffic. Left downwind runway 26 left, report base.
Enter left downwind 26 left and McCoy base 237 Charlie Alpha.
Charlie Tower, United 242 on the visual for 20 right. We'll be turning you for a right base shortly.
United 242 John Wayne Tower, runway 20 right, clear to land, wind 170, headwind 3.
Clear to land, 20 right to land.
Papa Tower, Kilo, Kilo, ILS 124.
Here 520 Yankee Kilo, Palomar Tower, runway 24, clear to land, wind 210 at 11.
Clear land,
Number 237 Charlie Alpha, runway 26 left, clear to land.
26 left, clear to land 7 Charlie Alpha, thank you.
Palm Springs ground plus 4658 east ramp with the weather going for taxi.
Hollis 4658, Palm Springs ground, runway 31 right, taxi via Echo and Bravo.
Trail right via Echo Bravo 465.
Riverside Tower, good morning, November 2903 Alpha, with you on the island.
Number 2903 Alpha, Riverside Tower, good afternoon. Runway 9 clear low approach, report miss.
November 2903 Alpha, low approach, runway 9, next report 6.
Palm Springs Tower plus 4658 ready to go, trail right side Bravo.
What's the radio area check?
Hollis 4658, Palm Springs Tower, runway 31 right, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, trail right plus 465.
Palomar Tower, Kilo, Kilo, located at 24.
Here's our Yankee Kilo, rush taxi into the ramp via Alpha.
Via Alpha.
Lotus 4658, contact SoCal departure.
Contact departure 465.
Cessna 7 Charlie Alpha is clear, the active taxi to the GA parking please.
We're 7 Charlie Alpha, remain on this frequency taxi into the south ramp via Sierra.
South ramp via Sierra with you, 7 Charlie Alpha, thanks.
Number 2903 Alpha, going around.
Number 03 Alpha, confirm going around or going missed?
November 2903 Alpha, going missing.
Number 03 Alpha, roger, execute the published missed approach procedure.
Flying published missed approach procedure, November 2903.
Piper 2903 Alpha, contact SoCal departure.
Contact departure, 03 Alpha.
Number 03 Alpha, departure frequency will be 135.4.
135.4 for departure, November 2903.
Ontario Tower, November 516 Delta Mike, inbound ILS 26 left.
Number 516 Delta Mike, Ontario Tower, good afternoon, Ontario, wind is calm. Runway 26 left, clear to land.
26 left, clear to land, 6 Delta Mike. Tower November 36. Correction, 516 Delta Mike, clear of the active at uniform, taxiing to the south apron.
Number 6 Delta Mike, roger, taxi on the south ramp via Sierra, remain on this frequency.
Yes,